Well, this is the time of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Valencia. Welcome to beautiful Spain on the Aspar Circuit. Get ready for the first of the many qualifying races from the cross car senior, junior and mini categories. Welcome to this year's edition of the FIA Motorsport Games. My name is Guillaume Alvarez. I will be your voice, your eyes and your ears for this weekend of racing on this brand new off-road circuit that has been built just nearby the Aspar Circuit of karting and motorcycle. We're not far from the beautiful city of Valencia on the east coast of Spain, as we've been getting ourselves ready for the first of the many races that we're going to see and live together this weekend around this fantastic track. The conditions, the weather conditions and the track conditions have been kind to us this afternoon. As you can see, there's a lot of clouds, but the sun is above our heads and the drivers are getting themselves ready for the first qualifying heat of the day. Now we'll see the senior category, the top drivers in the world of the cross car series get themselves going for the first qualifying heat. So we're going to have nine competitors in total for 5 laps to go through. Let's go through the names as we're going to have for this first heat of the day. We're going to have Ivan Pina Chinchilla from Spain, from Team España, starting on pole position with Thomas Schmidt from Switzerland by his side. From Luxembourg, Bob Shannon on the front row of the grid, as well as Eric Stenshold, Jonathan Yilami, as well as Tommy Baratti, Konstantinos Astapopoulos, as well as Axel Elbren and Kan Alakos. All the drivers, 9 of them through 4 rows of the grid. This is the senior category of the cross car, getting themselves ready for race 1. Those drivers are going to have to go through 3 qualifying races in total, each of them being split in 2 races, 2 groups. So we're going to have first race 1 with 9 competitors, race 2, 8 competitors, race 3, another 8 competitors, 25 drivers in total. This will be it for heat number 1. Then we're going to have the same drivers as the result with a starting position based on the result of the first race. So this is a progressive system in the senior category as it is in the junior class. This will be slightly different when it comes to the mini category, as the Mini is the new addition to the Cross Car Championship Series here for the FIA Motorsport Games as part of the European Championship season as well. But this is a brand new project that has been brought to life by Live, indeed, the enterprise from Belgium, Savit, specialized into the making of those cross-car buggies. This is going to be exciting. Get yourselves ready, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along for heat number 1 of the senior category. 9 drivers onto the track, getting themselves ready on the first row of the grid. Yves from Spain is competing in home soul. Ivan Pina Chinchilla, Thomas Schmidt and Bob Shannon alongside him on the first row of the grid. And we're going to have Eric Stenhold, Jonathan Ilirami, Tommy Baratti, Konstantinos Anastasopoulos, Alex Elbren and Kan Alakoch. A total of 25 drivers from 5 different countries making their way to Spain, Valencia, for the 3rd edition of the FIA Motorsport Games, as we're waiting for the start and the green flag given by our race director and officials all throughout the track. A very interesting layout made of 835 meters, 11 turns. As you can hear now, the green flag is waving. We're about to start in under less than 5 seconds. Once the light goes green, we'll be ready for the FIA Motorsport Games. Here we go. Start of the first heat, round to the first turn, 11 to go through on this very interesting and fast lap. And some of the drivers already kicking the wheels on the outside of the dirt. Very, very dirty, very, very tricky track. The FIA Motorsport Games are on for the Cross Car Series, ladies and gentlemen. And thanks again for joining us live on the YouTube channel of the FIA Motorsport Games, as we'll be here together all throughout the course of this Saturday afternoon and on the way to Sunday. This will be very, very fast, so get yourselves onto the edge of your seat, get the popcorn, get a good spot if you find yourself. Oh, and a yellow flag, one driver out. Oh, and that's coming together, unfortunately, into turn, the last one actually before making the return on the start-finish straight pretty much. This is lap 1 already, being very, very difficult, as we have the number 18, Eric Stenshold, making his way up to 2nd position, and the pressure of the number 4, Thomas Schmidt. Look at those drivers trying to get themselves onto the racing line, which will be no easy at all to find all throughout the course of those 5 laps of qualifying heat nine drivers onto the track in total. Look at the amount of metal is being spread around on the corners, on the edges of the track. But we've seen some drama already with Ivan Chinchilla, the Spaniard, the pole sitter. He's the one who actually went into a spin into the last turn, the penultimate turn onto the track, and I think he was able to get his way back onto the racing line. And you see, this is still very difficult for some of them. Yellow flag is being waved, and that goes the way of our new leader, Jonathan Ilimani from Finland. The Finnish driver was able to get himself out of that pack and really pull away from the rest of the field already, with a big, very nice advantage, 6 seconds already. Oh, and you can see this is very, very difficult for one of them to keep the racing line on the outside of turn number 1. So the driver is battling their way at the number 11, Tommy Baratti, under the pressure of the 39. Ivan Chinchilla, who's going to pass on the inside, coming to turn number 4, on the way to turn number 5, the number 16. On your picture, this is Can Alakok at the back end of the grid, unfortunately the number 9, as he's going to try to make his way into turn number 5. The turn number 5 of the track is the one where those drivers have a joker lap to go around as well. This will be for the mini categories, keep in mind, as we're back here with the leaders, the number 18, Eric Stenshold, trying to get the pressure growing on Bob Shannon. That's going to be an interesting battle. As further back, we have Alex Elbren, Tommy Baratti in 4th and 5th as well. Ivan Chinchilla, who got ahead of Alex Elbren just on the lap before, trying to climb through the field. It has been not an easy start to his race for the pole sitter. Look, another kick of the wheel on the outside of turn number 3, that is, on the way to turn number 4, that right-hander before the number 5, the never-ending turn number 5. Then you have the left turn number 6. This is the chicane in turn number 8. As the number 88 now trying to extract himself from the mud. The leader at the moment, 6.5 seconds for Jonathan Ilimani, doing a perfect job to get his weekend started for Ilimani. On his way to potentially, if nothing happens to him, victory number 1 in his weekend for the cross-car FIA Motorsport Games. You can see a lot of standing water on the left side of the track. It's due to difficult weather conditions, but look at them drifting their way outside of turn number 1. You might be able to hear some engine roaring in the background of my voice as well, because we find ourselves very, very close to the action here on the Aspar Circuit. The number 30 trying to hold on to that 4th position with Eric Stenshold. Just behind, this is Alex Elbren and Eric Stenshold battling for 4th, as we have a yellow flag, still back to green. That was very brief. But this is the conclusion almost already. Oh, and this is why the yellow flag are coming together. I think this might have been between Bob Shannon and Ivan Chinchilla, the Spaniard, who just made his way past Alex Elbren for P3. As we are into lap number 5. And this is the end, ladies and gentlemen. This is the checkered flag already. And the victory for Jonathan Ilimani. Second place for Bob Shannon. Ivan Chinchilla, the Spaniard, was able to get himself up back to 3rd place. Alex Elbren coming across in 4th place from Eric Stenshold in P5. Then we have Konstantinos Anastasopoulos in P6 from Thomas Schmidt, losing a place to P7 from Can Alakok, and Tommy Baratti. Tommy Baratti, unfortunately, who went to DNF. That's quite a shame for the number 11 from Slovakia. As we said, 25 nations here represented. But that's victory number 1 for Jonathan Ilimani into that first race of the weekend. Well done to the Estonian Ilimani, taking the first win of his weekend here on the track of Aspars. If you're joining us right now, welcome to you all. This is heat number 1 for the senior category of the cross-car FIA Motorsport Games. And let me remind you that those senior drivers will go through 3 qualifying heats in total, each being split into 3 different groups. So that's a lot of track time for the drivers. And as you can see, there's a intervention vehicle as well to make sure to gather and get back to the Parc Fermé. The unfortunate Tommy Baratti, the Estonian, still stuck onto the track, I think. We're going to get back to that. But the next grid is already getting himself ready. Still with the seniors, as we're going to have this time almost the same amount, 8 drivers making their way onto the grid. And they're going to have to wait just a little bit to the time for the marshals to make themselves onto the track and try to give a little bit of help to Tommy Baratti. the Estonian driver at the wheel of his Semog Yamaha. And once the green flag will be waved, we will be into the 5 last seconds before the green light will go on. This will be up to the 5 lap of time in Crosscar Senior underway here from the Aspar Circuit near Valencia, one of the 4 locations of the FIA Motorsport Games 2024, the 3rd edition of the Olympics of Motorsport. My name is Guillaume Alvarez, and this is my pleasure to welcome you guys from all over the world, wherever you are watching. Thanks ever so much for tuning in on the YouTube channel of the FIA Motorsport Games. After Rome in beautiful Italy, after Marseille and Paul Ricard region in France 2 years ago, we find ourselves in beautiful Spain for edition number 3 of the FIA Motorsport Games. Crosscar is underway, one of the 26 racing series that we have. We had only 6 back in 2019, 16 back in 2022, and make it 10 more, 26 for this time here in Spain. Part of the off-road category, the Crosscar Junior, Senior, and for the first time, the mini category that we'll have the pleasure of following together on track a bit later on, along with other categories in rally and circuit and karting, in electric street, as well as in esports. So there's plenty of action, plenty of racing series up to the liking of everybody, I'm sure, following through. If you find yourself in the region of Valencia, please pay us a visit. We are not very far from the city itself, about 40 kilometers in an hour, half an hour on the road in the Aspar Circuit. Not far as well, about the same distance from the Circuit de Carrotormo, as well as the gravel rally area and the tarmac rally area that get themselves on the west side of the Spanish country. So Aspar Circuit is vibrating for the past few days to track action, both in the off-road with the crosscar and with the karting. As you can see, the track is brand new. It's made of 11 turns, 4 left and 7 rights, 835 meters of length for a wide of track between 13 and 15 meters. Top speed of about 80 km an hour. Might not be the top speeds that you get to see usually into the Crosscar European Championship. Those senior, by the way, can pull off sometimes up to 170 kilometers of top speed from the 180 horsepower. So crazy little machines, those buggies for the off-road racing. And if you're new to this series, well, welcome along. First of all, thanks for joining us. This will be certainly one of the few times that I get the chance to be with you and commentate on that series. So plenty of race action, plenty of race sessions, as the senior will be up and running in just a moment for race 2 of that first qualifying heat. And keep in mind that the next grid will be determined for heat number 2 based on the result of heat number 1. So this is progressive, and those senior drivers have one mission in mind: to make it to the quarterfinals at the end of the qualifying heats. The final ranking, the classification of the qualifying heats will be based obviously on each of those drivers' results with an accumulation of points. And based on those points, we'll have a grid coming to the quarterfinal for that senior category. Quarterfinal, semi-final and final that will be taking place tomorrow, Sunday. But only a fraction of those 25 drivers will make it to the last step of the race, obviously, with the final taking place on Sunday. We'll get back to that certainly, but the format of the race is similar for the seniors and the juniors, while the mini slightly different, so to speak, as the 14 drivers that we have in that mini category that will come later into play onto the track will get plenty of time to go through the group system that will be based on an elementary phase. Now, the free practice, the qualifying are done, is down to the races, as after those qualifying races, the seniors will have a semi-final of 6 laps and one final of 7 laps. It's down to 5 rounds of the Aspar Circuit in those qualifying races, as we have onto the grid for this 8-1 race number 2. Nathan Tink, the Dutch driver on the pole position, is the one sitting on the inside, coming to turn number 1 on the left side of your picture. David Mea, the Frenchman, watch out for him. These are 2 of the biggest names of the past few seasons in both the senior and the junior category, because Nathan Tink is one of the new names coming to the top class. And David Meyer, the Frenchman, is the one to beat this weekend, as he was crowned gold medal winner 2 years ago in Marseille, and is also the current reigning European champion. So that's going to be an interesting battle. Felix Bodelmeyer by this side, and we have Alain Sintes, Federico Pini, then we have Maciej Laskowski, Niklas Lukas Jensen, and Sahil Khanna. 8 drivers, 3 rows onto the grid. We have 3 drivers in front, 2, and then another 3, and then another 2, 3 rows in total. 3, 2, and 3, just to make it count. And we're gonna have another race after this one with another 8 drivers as part of the field of the senior class. But this will come a little bit later. In between, we're gonna have the first 4 races of the mini class before switching our attention to the junior category. For the seniors, you got to be a minimum 16 years of age to be able to participate into this race at the wheel of those purpose-built rear-wheel drive buggies with and Yamaha engines between 600 and 890 cc. That's about 3 or 4 cylinder motorcycle engines. And most of those drivers have Yamaha machinery behind their back, some of them using Suzuki as well. And just to keep in mind about some technical features of the senior category, they're all running on Gold Speed tires, and that's an important feature as well because they only have 6 tires, 3 front and 3 rear, so about 1.5 sets to make it between the practice sessions, qualifying all the way to the final. So it's about keeping the tires up to temperature, it's about being consistent with the performance, and whenever the drivers are ready, whenever the track is clear, more importantly, we'll be able to get going with the racing. As a couple of interesting names indeed in that field. David Meyer, as we said, competing on home soil 2 years ago when he won the gold medal. David Meyer, in the meantime, with 17 seasons at the top level of cross-car racing, one of the most experienced drivers out there, that's for sure. As not only did he win a gold medal back in 2022, but he was also the European champion back in 22-21, and he was a vice European champion last season, and is the reigning European champion in the cross-car senior category. The driver from Bretagne in France, and I'm sure that he does have a lot of supporters watching along and tuning in to see the exploits and achievements of David Meyer, who is going to be against Nathan Otink. And on a personal level, I do recall Nathan Otink from the days of karting, that the little Nathan has been growing quite significantly over the past few years, making his way through off-road racing, and doing that with some very interesting results, as is the junior gold medal from 2 years ago in Marseille. Is the current European champion in the junior category, was vice champion of the Biggie 600 last season as well, a category where he started back in the Academy Trophy. And in the Motorsport Games of 2022, he was the one who went on the top step of the podium. Now, 2 years further in time, different location, different track, different category as well for Nathan Otink. Let's see what he can do at the wheel of his Life Live, which is one of the most well-known brands in the world of cross car. The enterprise from Belgium, created by Mr. Thierry Neuville, that you might have heard of in the World Rally Championship, on his way potentially to become world champion for the first time in his career. As I'm sure he's keeping a close eye on what's happening here live from the FIA Motorsport Games. Now, we're waiting for the officials to be ready and the track to be made clear after the DNF from Tom Baratti, quite unfortunate, as it was the first time that those drivers got onto the track in the peloton of a race, pretty much, after the free practice and the qualifying session. And you can see straight away that some of the drivers had a bit of a difficult time trying to keep it on the racing line. It's fair to say as well that for those of you who were not with us since the start of the weekend, this morning's conditions were not the easiest to go racing. So that's why we are currently a little bit in delay based compared to the previous schedule. So for those of you who took note of a previous schedule that had been published on the official website of the FIA Motorsport Games, please be aware that the schedule has been changed, as we were due to start in the morning. Unfortunately, the torrential rains of last night made the track very difficult to use actually this morning. So a lot of repair, a lot of work to make it clear had to be done through the first hours of the morning, delaying the program after the end. For that, we would like to apologize first of all and thank all the people involved into the making of this event and the people of the track for their determination and the ongoing work and effort to make sure that we can go racing. Now, the track is clear. It has been made so for the past few hours now. Let's keep it that way, shall we, as the weather conditions should be absolutely beautiful and perfect all throughout the course of the day. And to keep an eye on the new schedule as well, after the senior category here we will go through 4 races of the mini category. The mini category that is being split at the first level of the competition, top 14. There's 14 competitors, as we'll have them racing 2 by 2. So the first of the race will see each 2 drivers going side by side racing for 2 laps. That's going to go quite quickly, so make sure to keep it up as well, and so will I make sure to keep it up. And then after those 4 races, we'll go back to the senior and junior and back to the mini. So there's going to be a rolling series for the mini category all throughout this Saturday of racing. And keep in mind as well that due to the delay that we had to go through this morning, senior and junior category will be completed for the qualifying heats today, but tomorrow morning we'll go through the last qualifying heats for the mini class as well before finishing on the schedule for this weekend with the quarterfinal, semi-final and final in all 3 classes. So a lot of racing action here on the Aspar Circuit, and thank you ever so much once again for joining us here as the competitors of the senior category are patiently waiting onto the grid. The engines are roaring, and as you can see, the wind has been picking up as well. A little bit of wind picking up here. This has been quite significant in terms of weather conditions, as we discussed earlier. But now, after the rains of last night, hopefully let's keep it dry and practical as well for tomorrow. Now, let's take a look as while we wait for the drivers to get the get-go from the officials to the entry list. 25 drivers, as we said, competing in the senior category. We have the likes of Alan Sintes from Brazil, Thomas Schmidt from Switzerland, Adar Melamed from Israel, Federico Pini from Italy, Adam Kotaska from Czech Republic, Tommy Baratti from Slovakia, Manuel Loyola from Chile, David Mea, we mentioned him from France, Jonathan Ililami from Finland, Conor Lecoq from Turkey. Then we have Nathan Otting from the Netherlands, Eric Stensol from Norway, Sebastian Henholm from Sweden, Martin Yuga from Estonia, Konstantinos Anastasopoulos from Greece, Felix Bollemeyer from Germany, Alex Elbrun from Peru, Ivan Pina from Spain, Arnaud Demelin from Belgium, Roberts Rubiniek from Latvia, João Diniz from Portugal, and to be complete, Sail Khanna from India, Bob Shannon from Luxembourg, Masisz Lakowski from Poland, and Niklas Luka Jensen from Denmark. You briefly saw on the left side the intervention vehicle getting back to its position. That means that Tommy Baratti's car has been put back into the right direction and the track has been made clear in the meantime. Hopefully this is the case, as we'll be ready in the meantime to get going for race number 2 of the day. But a very interesting field in this senior category. So far, some of the contenders have been able to shine in the free practice and qualifying sessions as well. Jonathan Ilameni, for instance, from Finland, was the first one to put it on top of the classification in the opening free practice session. Martin Yuga, the Estonian, did so in free practice number 2. In qualifying, it went the way of Ivan Pina Cincia twice, the fastest in practice 1 and 2. He finished, obviously, as you might imagine, with the overall pole position in 38.1. And in the warm-up this morning, well, Federico Pini, the Italian, was the fastest just before getting onto the track for racing mode. So, Jonathan Ililami, the Finnish driver, was your first winner, and he did so by a good margin of 6 seconds. That will make a difference in the time, in the result. The difference in gaps at the finish of each of the races can make an impact, can have an impact onto the final classification. as now it's being a bit of a wait as well for the drivers sitting in the respective buggies, but I think we're getting near to the next start of the race. As a reminder, Jonathan Ililami, the Finnish driver, was the winner of your first race of the day in front of Bob Shannon and Ivan Chinchilla. Pina Chinchilla, who gave us a bit of a scare into the opening lap with a spin. And after that, well, it was about fighting his way through to the field, which he did quite beautifully up to P3. Now, we're getting ourselves ready. As you can see, the official on the right side of your screen is about to put that green flag up in the air. And once the green flag is waved, we enter the last 5 seconds of waiting before the green light goes onto the light on the right side as well. And once the green light goes up, then we're good to go for racing. Let's see what's the way it's going to happen this time around, because the opening lap of the first race was pretty hectic. This is still very much a green track. We haven't seen much of track action today due to this ongoing repair that we mentioned this morning. So certainly a little bit of a trap here and there for even the most experienced of drivers. Talking about experience, nothing to think. The most promising of former junior drivers making his way to the senior category. David Meillon, the reigning gold medalist in the FIA Motorsport Games, the current and reigning from last year as well, European champion, is the one to beat, is the reference in the senior class. But watch out as well for Felix Budelmeier, Alacintes, Federico Pinni, who was the fastest in this morning's warm-up session. Laskowski, Jensen and Salih Khanna from India as well, running up your top 8 onto that grid as the engines are roaring still. And if you're wondering where we are actually onto the location of the Aspar Circuit, we're just nearby. Same location, same space as you make your way. If you are with us here and you're interested to come and see what's happening here on the Aspar Circuit, please do so. And you find the off-road cross-car circuit just on the left side of the facility. So make sure to pay us a visit. There's like a lot of space around the circuit for you to have a prime vision. There's a grandstand as well. There's all the facilities, and there's a cafeteria. There's the karting track as well for some more action. So plenty of racing spectacle to witness here in the Aspar Circuit. That was created back in 2017, this beautiful location. And you might wonder where the Aspar name comes from. Well, it's due to the co-owner of this beautiful facility, Il Signore Jorge Martinez, one of the motorcycle legends from the 1980s and 90s. And that's thanks to his effort. And those of the other organizers of the FIA Motorsport Games, the FIA, but also SRO Motorsport Group, the RGMMC Group, as well as the promoter of the Crossroad Crosscar and Karting event, as well as everybody here at the Aspar location. So thanks ever so much once again. Muchas gracias to everybody for making this happen, as we are only getting started into the many surprises awaiting us in the not only the senior, but also the junior and the mini class. The green flag is about to wave here for race number 2 of the qualifying heat number 1, as the drivers are now getting themselves ready. We're going to have the mini class just after. Don't go anywhere, as we'll have a bit of time offered in between to go through the system of groups and the elimination format of the mini category, which is a first. And this is a new, brand new project and brand new chassis of young buggies for off-road racing that has been created by Life Live. We'll get back to that in a minute. And in the meantime, the green flag is waving. Now, get yourselves ready, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to go racing. And the senior class is go onto the turn number 1. A brilliant start from a pole sitter on the inside. David Meyer with Nathan O'Tink. Felix Budelmeier losing a place already. I think Nathan O'Tink was able to get himself into the lead. Here we go. Turn number 2, 3. Full speed into the mud, trying to get yourself out of your starting position. Into the right-hander of turn number 4. Into the turn number 5 in front of the grandstand. You're more than welcome. This is indeed Felix Buldemeyer, the German driver, actually was able to get himself into the lead. What a start it was from Buldemeyer, and look at how close that is and how difficult this is as well to get yourself into turn number 9. There's so much mud, so many different racing lines before making yourself back into turn number 10 and turn number 11. The battle is raging. 17 on the inside. This is Nathan O'Tink dropping places. Unfortunately, the young Dutch driver, he didn't have the best of getaway from pole position, I'm afraid, as David Mea is leading the field at the end of the opening lap. Maciej Ladowski is up into P2, having passed Felix Buddelmeier. Nathan O'Tink, oh, and another kick on the mud and on one of the fences, one of the natural fences built through this track by one of the drivers at the back end. I think it was Sahil Khanna, the Indian driver, indeed, at the wheel of his Kamotos. Real chicane as in lead. And number 14, David Mea is back in the lead. As, he had lost it briefly, but from pole position, he was able to hold on to that place and already building himself a bit of a gap. We have currently 4.3 seconds advantage from David Mea on Maciej Lakowski. Third place for Nathan O'Tink, Felix Buddelmeier. And oh yeah, we seem to have lost Felix Buddelmeier. What happened there to the number 27? Oh, that's quite unfortunately for the German driver who just tumbled down the order. There he is outside of the 10 number 3 out there. Yeah, certainly something wrong, and I do think he might have made a mistake, Felix Buddelmeier, on that side, as we are on board here pretty much with the number 6. This is Federico Pini trying to go around the inside of not one but two drivers, and he makes it through on the 96 of Niklas Lukas Jensen. Wow, that was one heck of a move. And the number 2 of Alan Sintes, a Brazilian, trying to hold on to 4th position. But on the inside, Federico Pini just saw the opportunity to try to take the advantage on the inside line. There was a bit of space, maybe not enough to make it stick for the two drivers at once. But that's the kind of move that we cannot wait to see repeating. Talking to some of the drivers as we're here close with the number 27. Watch out, as the racing line on the inside is getting close as well. But I think the 96 just went for a mistake. Niklas Lukas Jensen, indeed. Jensen was leaning for P6 in front of Khanna and Buddelmeier, but went wide in turn number 4. Unfortunately, lost those 2 places as the end of this race is already getting near for David Mea, the Frenchman. Let's take a look at the gap. 7 seconds now on Laskowski. Definitely not the easiest track for the drivers. You can see even some of the big names. The number 2 here, Alan Sintes, the Brazilian, up into 4th place, trying to catch up with Nathan O'Tink. They're currently trying to catch up, I was going to say, but there's about 7 seconds between the young Dutchman and the Brazilian down in 4th place. Right and left, this is David Mea. Maciej Laskowski up into 2nd place. 7 seconds might be a little bit much, as the checkered flag is already waving. 5 laps completed, and David Mea, the Frenchman, is taking your first win of his weekend. Brilliantly made for David Mea, the Frenchman, as obviously, certainly the favorite of this race, David Mea, as he came here certainly with a mission in mind and tried to make it 2 in a row in terms of gold medals, as is getting very close on the finish line. The checkered flag is waving for David Mea. Maciej Lakowski in 2nd place, Nathan O'Tink in 3rd, Federico Pini down in 4th, Alan Sintes in 5th place. From Felix Buddelmeier, a German, after running into trouble and making a mistake into the opening laps, managed to get himself past Salim Khanna and Niklas Lukas Jensen, the number 96, who unfortunately the Danish driver gave us a bit of a mistake. We saw that live into turn number 4. Could not quite hold on to that racing line on the inside of the turn, and the door was wide open for both Buddelmeier and Sahil Khanna to make their way past for P6 and P7 respectively. So that's another interesting win, and the gap is now been extended. It was about more than 6 seconds on the line for Jonathan Ilimami on the opening race. Now it's up to 8.5 seconds, so keep an eye on that as well. As David Mea gave us the best lap of the race with the win. Seniors are done for the moment, but don't go anywhere. They're already back into the paddock, giving a little bit of a mud as the green flag is waving already for the mini category. Now, let's go through the grid quickly before they get going, as this is going to be a very short grid, so to speak. Just 2 drivers, as the green flag and the green light is on already. We have Alberg and Collins Nuez actually going for a 2-lap race. That's going to be a very short version. Here we go, the youngsters, the mini category. That's one of the new additions of the FIA Motorsport games in the off-road cross-car categories. A brand new project for those youngsters between 8 and 12 years of age. 14 drivers, 14 nations represented at the wheel of those non-gearbox 2-wheel drive 4-stroke engine machines. Honda machines, Honda engines for all those buggies at the wheel of those young competitors. This is the first step of potentially what could be very interesting career in the off-road or the track world as well in the vast majority of motorsport series for the years to come. But now that might come here at the FIA Motorsport Games. That might be the start of a beautiful story for any of those youngsters. 14 drivers, as we said, starting this Olympic of Motorsport. Edwin Alberg and Collins Nuez were the first 2 at the wheel of those cross-car mini machines. 2 laps. 2 drivers, very simple, very straightforward, and there's a reason to that, is that as a new addition, the organizer decided not to align the mini category, on the same as the juniors and the seniors. So each time, those drivers will have to face one another for 2 laps, and at the end of the first 10 races, we're gonna start losing a little bit of those drivers. So it means that only a fraction of those, precisely 4 drivers out of the 14 will make it to the semi-final stage, and we're going to have in the end a final A and a final B. The final A, the winner of the final A will decide the gold medalist, then the silver, the bronze, and the unfortunate drivers in 4th place. But we cannot have, unfortunately, all those 4 drivers competing into the final, so that's why we're going to have to eliminate them as we move forward. And that starts, oh, that's a very nice move on the inside as we get into the last few turns of the last lap. What a move that was indeed. That will be the first win certainly for this youngster from Norway. Edwin Alberg, beautifully made on the Collins Nuez. We thought for a moment that Nuez was on his way to P1. That would have been his first victory, but he lost a little bit onto the inside of turn number 9. That was the opportunity for Edwin Hordberg to get back on the lead and take the win in the end. So he just took it home beautifully, the Norwegian driver. That makes it the first winner in the history of the FIA Motorsport Games in the mini cross-car category. So well done to him, and to keep you updated about what just happened before this first race won by Holberg. Well, we had Hugo Fuertes, who has been certainly the driver to beat through the course of the free practice qualifying sessions. He is our qualifying pole sitter, the driver from Spain competing in home soil. That gives you wings, certainly, and is going to be on track a little bit later, as we're going to have straight away the second opposition between Livari Manisto from Finland and Manuela Galvao Bernardelli from Brazil. Interesting, majority of drivers between the feminine and masculine drivers. 6 lady drivers. We have Manuela Galvao Bernardelli, we have Ava Cabral from Canada, we have Célie Perichot from France, Lena Stroop from Germany, Agam Stricki from Israel, Merel Okstra from the Netherlands, as well as I said, Galvao Bernardelli from Brazil. 6 girls onto the track, pretty much half of the grid, as the green flag is waving, and once the green light is up, well, we'll be good to go for 2 laps of racing. Green, green, green. Here we go. Between Livari Manisto and Manuel Galvao Bernardelli. Which one of the 2 will be able to get ahead? As the number 255 in the lead. She was in pole position, coming to that first position into the first turn, of 2 laps into the turn 2 and 3. 11 to go through. As you can probably make your mind up to it. This is slightly less fast and slightly less competitive compared to the juniors and the seniors. That is a good reason to that. Those drivers are part of the youngest that we have in not only cross car but in all FIA Motorsport games. as the young driver from Germany that we mentioned, Lena Strobe, is actually the youngest driver in the entire field. And in total, this weekend, in the all FIA Motorsport games, we have a total of 646 athletes. So, and she's the youngest. She will be back on track in a minute. But as you can see, it's quite difficult actually to get yourself out of the mud into turn number 9. And those drivers are actually quite struggling just outside of turn number 9 on the way to turn number 10. But Livery Manisto is having the upper end at the moment. Well done for her so far. Livery Manisto, who is leading the way from Finland. Livery Manisto in front of Manuela Galva Bernalli. As where is the Brazilian driver? I do think that she's in a bit of a trouble, because at the moment Livery Manisto is really on his own on the entry of lap number 2, and I think there will be no other position, unfortunately, for Galvao Bernardelli, who seemed to be in a bit of a trouble, and she's nowhere to be seen again. So unfortunately, she got herself stuck, certainly by the look of it, to the mud of turn number 9. We might have actually a response to our question after the chicane into turn number 8, right, left. Really having to pay attention when you put your wheels, and look at how bumpy that is, how greasy and slippery that can be as well, especially in this part. And you can see on the left side, unfortunately, that will be it for Manuela Galvao Bernardelli, and could this be it as well for Livery Manisto? Well, what's happening there? The mud has been the strongest. Unfortunately, Livery Manisto got himself stuck as well. Well, that's something quite unexpected. Fortunately, keep in mind that those drivers and those buggies are the lightest in the whole category. That might have something to do with that as well. The weight will make a difference in the mud, allowing you to really find your pace and find your way through those difficult conditions. But now we got a race stuck on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. This must be the first time I get to see this actually in my motorsport career over the past few years. We got 2 drivers in the same race in the last lap, just pretty much 2 turns from the checkered flag, and unable to get going. Those 2 stuck pretty much at the same spot into turn number 9. Thankfully, the marshals will be on the scene. Thank you ever so much once again to the Orange Army. And now, I do wonder what the situation is, because you will have to admit that this is rather unusual, considering that Livery Manisto had the upper hand and was 1 lap forward into this race. The win should go to him, the Finnish driver, and not to Galvao Bernardelli, even though Bernardelli will cross the line first at the checkered flag. This must be one of the strangest situations I ever come across, but this can happen. And this tells you already about how hard this can be to navigate through the turns of the track here at Aspar Circuit. But the checkered flag is waving, very much logically, first of all for Livery Manisto, who takes the win in that confrontation. Manuela Galvao Bernardelli will have to make do with second place, and fortunately for the Brazilian driver, she was able to get out of the mud with a little bit of the help from the marshals. But it remains to be seen if she will be officially classified, if those 2 will be officially classified after what happened. I do believe so, but it remains to be confirmed. And if you're interesting about where to find the results, well, FIA Motorsport Games, the official website of the Olympics of Motorsport, will provide you with everything you need to know in terms of live timing, live streaming, results, decisions, and everything to get yourself covered, not to miss a single bit of the racing so far. So at this point, we've had the win in the opening race going for Hochberg. Then we have the win potentially for the driver in the first place at the end of this race. So Hochberg, winner of the opening race, and now the classification is gone. So it remains to be seen who is going to get on top, as we're going to have the next race coming up. Green, green, green. Here we go. All ready for race number 1 of A1. This is another opposition in the mini category. As we got ourselves already here. Here we go. 2 laps to go through for those 2 competitors. This is again Hogberg and Colin Snowes. So the first two drivers that we had before, and this is one win to Hogberg, and we're going to have the round two, the revenge, so to speak, for the Belgian driver Colin Snowes, starting in the same order. But keep in mind that this is the system we're going to have to be following with for the mini category. So 2 by 2, and each of them will have to race twice against one another. We've had one race already with the victory of Hogberg, and let's see if Colin Snowes is going to be able to take his revenge, and he goes around the inside of turn number 9. Something tells me that based on what we've seen so far, that turn number 9, that left-hander just before the right-hander of 10 and before the hairpin in 11, could be certainly a decisive factor into the coming races, at least when it comes to the minis and maybe the juniors. The seniors, you've seen as well, you kept struggling a little bit coming into that turn, and now the gap has been built. Hogberg actually is leading the way, so it was Colin Snowes, my apologies, who was losing the lead at the end of the opening lap. So Hogberg back in the lead. That means that if he takes the victory into this race, it will go up to the quarterfinals. So keep in mind that the first few positions that we're going to see, a total of 12 races between all the competitors pretty much, will take the winners at the end of two confrontation up to the quarterfinals. And from the quarterfinals, each summer drivers will be lost on the way, and the winners will make their way up to the semi-finals. So keep that in mind for the moment. But the good thing is, with this new system by the FIA and FIA Motorsport group, is that the drivers who unfortunately don't make it to the quarterfinal and semi-final still get to keep on racing until the end through a series of other races. Watch out as well for the Belgian. Colin Snowes is coming close, but unfortunately he won't have enough time to get past his Norwegian opponent. Edwin Hogberg is coming across the line and takes another win. So that's win number 2 in as many races for Edwin Hogberg, who is going to be fighting actually the fastest drivers in qualifying practice. We mentioned his name, Fuertes from Spain. That's going to be an interesting one. The first quarterfinal, this will be race number 7. But well done to Edwin Hogberg. Maybe one more lap could have been enough for Colin Snowes. cross-car mini category is back and running already onto the Aspar Circuit. Here we go again. This is the opposition number 2 between Livery Manisto and Manuela Galvaro Bernardelli. So the Brazil against Finland. Let's see who can come out on top this time around, as Galvaro Bernardelli and as well Manisto is in the lead at the opening of this first of 2 laps. Very short racing, as we said, in the mini category. But don't worry, we'll see a lot of the youngsters between 8 and 12 years of age, the youngest drivers in the whole of the FIA Motorsport games. And this is in cross-car, it's happening. But for now, well, Livery Manisto, who got stuck into the last lap on his first race, but managed to get away with the win. Well, this time managed to build himself a very interesting and comfortable gap into the opening lap, as Manuela Galvaro Bernardelli is trying to keep up as well. But she's going to have to make do with another second place by the look of it, as with 2 wins, if that stays like that at the end of the last lap for Manisto, that means that he will be the one jumping to the quarterfinals, where he will be competing against one of the other winners of that first level of the competition. Here we go. Lap number 2 that is, and a bit of a gap, I have to say, 4 seconds coming across the 11 turns of that 835 meter long Aspar Circuit. You might hear behind me the senior cross-car engines roaring as well in the back. They will be the next ones for the next qualifying heat races. We're going to have the senior and the junior just after, so don't go anywhere, as we follow the mini categories very closely as well. Livery Manisto, the Finnish driver, up into turn number 7, the right and left in turn number 8. You can see that the racing line is quite clear. You don't want to get your wheels just outside of that tiny line. We've seen that in turn number 9. This particular turn, things can be messy for the seniors, for the mini, and I think that Galvaro Bernardelli might have been a little bit wide, a little bit ambitious on the entry of that turn, and I don't see her anywhere. So hopefully she's not stuck again at the end of her second race. But in the meantime, the checkered flag is waving, and that will be victory number 2 in as many races for Livery Manisto, the Finnish driver who gets himself a ticket for the quarterfinals of the mini category and is on his own, as Manuela Galvaro Bernardelli unfortunately got stuck once again into the mud. That's quite unfortunate for the young Brazilian driver, as that's the first appearance as for the rest of the drivers in that class in the motorsport games. And turn number 9, I haven't seen this enough so far, but this will be certainly, this is a factor. The seniors have seen the mini competing, different experience, different power, obviously. We'll see about this turn making an impact or not into the racing. The senior category of the cross car at the FIA Motorsport Games, the top of all classes, a total of 25 drivers split into 3 groups. We had the first 2 to get us started with the victories, going already the way of Jonathan Ilimanni and David Mea, as we wait for the young Brazilian Manuela Galvaro Bernardelli to go around one more time. You might be wondering, well, why not just taking a turn to the left? Well, because it's not the way to proceed. The way on the outside of the track coming to the Parc Fermé, where if you don't get to see it, that's quite a funny scene as well. But considering the amount of mud, the amount of saleté that you can have onto the track, well, those beautiful buggies need to go into the washing area. And the personnel of the FIA Motorsport Games and SRO are actually down there by the side of the track to clean them up after each of the races. And so, the green flag is waving. Watch out for the senior category. Sebastian Holm, Amar Benaded, and the green light is on. We are going racing here in the seniors once again. This is the group number 3 in the first qualifying heat, and what a great start for all of them. 8 drivers onto the track, into the first few turns, into turn number 4. Watch out, this is where the joker lap can be taken from the driver in second place on the front row of the grid. The poster will have to wait until lap number 2 into those qualifying races. Joker lap means for the mini categories going around the outside. So forget what I said. It's just for the minis. My apologies indeed. But the seniors, they don't need a Joker lap. It's just straight on, full out, pedal to the metal. And one who's taking a good advantage of that opening lap is the pole sitter, Sebastian Arnold from Sweden. The Swedish driver, 5 laps to go through for the senior category, and Henholm already leading the way with 2.2 seconds advantage on Adar Melade. Then we have Robert Rubenieks, Arnaud Demelen, the young Belgian, Johanno Denis from Portugal up into P5, in front of Adam Kotaska from Czech Republic, Manuel Loyola further back to number 13, competing for Chile. Then we have Martin Yuga, the number 25 from Estonia at the back end in P8. You can see him with the number 25. So this is the number 63. Robert Rubenieks at the wheel of his Semok chassis. Rubeniek, the number 63 from Latvia, trying to keep up with the pace of Adar Meladed from Israel. That's going to be an interesting battle because we went from 2.2 to 1.2. The gap just went down 1 full second in the course of a lap. So young Belgian just made his way past the driver number 63. We're back here with the leaders. Sweden against Israel into turn number 9. This is where some of the minis before have been stuck. The seniors are having none of it, trying to extract themselves from a little bit too much mud on the outside of the racing line. Look at how close that is. That's going to be an interesting one. Another lap to go through. 2 laps completed out of 5. Sebastian Henholm, Adar Melamed. Watch out for the Israeli driver into the chicane. Turn number 2, turn number 3. At full throttle into the second sector of the track. And another one. Oh, and the 63 going a bit wide. Robert Rubenieks giving us a little bit of a scare there. And look at those drivers going sideways. Beautiful driving skills on display here on the Aspar Circuit of the Cross Car Series. Into turn number 9. So far, Melamed has not quite been able to find a little bit of a gap. Oh, he lost a bit of space. He lost a bit of space and pace as well into turn number 10. About the gap, full tenths of a second, extend itself just a tiny bit. Back to a full second between the 2 leaders. Sebastian Henholm with the fastest lap at the moment for Adam Kotaska down in P5. Arnaud Demelen in the meantime trying to get himself away from Robert Rubenieks. Look at him driving through one of the tally on the right side outside of turn number 3, that is. 2 battles on our hands. 1 full second between Sebastian Henholm and Adar Melade. Arnaud Demelen down in 3rd. Robert Rubenieks in 4th place in front of Kotaska. Martin Yuga, who got disqualified earlier today in the qualifying practice, or yesterday, sorry. And quite unfortunate as he's one of the fastest, but the checker flag is waving at the end of those 5 laps. One more could have been certainly made a difference. Not 1.1 seconds is the his first race out there onto the track. Adar Melamed in 2nd place. Arnaud Demelen taking 3rd. From Robert Rubenieks, Adam Kotaska, Martin Yuga, Johannes Denis, and we seem to have lost Manuel Loyola, unfortunately. He just came across the line just right now, the number 13 from Chile, Manuel Loyola, at the wheel of his Semok, powered by a Yamaha engine. So first race of the day for Sebastian Henholm from Sweden, and the win already. This is race number 3 in the first circle, in the first rotation, and as I was mentioning, here's where the drivers make their way back behind the circuit. Actually, on the right side you can see the Aspar Cartodromo as well, just by our location, and this is where the drivers go to the cleaning zone. When we come back from the cleaning zone, it's about to go racing again. The junior category is up for the first time in the FIA Motorsport Games. Practice and qualifying are done. It's down to the racing. And we have the first qualifying heat, race number 1 as well for the juniors. a total of 14 drivers, 14 competitors in this junior category with the age of 15 and 15 years of 15 years of age, so very young competitors of the junior category. And 15 of the grid you can see in front of you, and the race will come shortly after for this first qualifying heat. Same as for the seniors. The result of this first race will determine at the end the starting position for the next round of qualifying heats. But Diego Martinez, the 127, will be your pole position driver. Luca Martel, one to watch as well. The young Belgian is one of the most fierce drivers in the junior class. Georg Mutik will be third on that grid, on that front row. Then we have Oskar Masiczeski, Thomas Stefan Advinst, and Bernardo Pitti. Seven drivers making their way onto the grid. Diego Martinez and Luca Cartel, staying fighting in front of the European Championship. The green flag is waving. Go racing, go green. The green. We are racing for the first time in the junior class in the cross car categories. It's going nice and easy for the advantage. Martel just took the advantage of the Spaniard. Yes, indeed. The number 131, Luca Martel, wearing the Belgian flag, up in the lead. Not even at the end of the opening lap. In turn, I think he took the advantage on the inside of turn number 1 on the Spaniard, Diego Martinez. That's going to be an interesting battle with Georg Mutik keeping a close watch just behind. Let's watch and wait for the end of the closing lap. In the junior category, we have to go through a total of 5 laps as well, just for the seniors. Luca Cartel, just 2 tiny tenths of a second from Diego Martinez, as the driver in third, still Mutik from Maciceski, Pitti, Alvingst, and Pregliasco down in 7th place. But those two, Martinez, Cartel, have been fighting their way through the European season as well. Martinez finished second in the Junior European Championship, just in front of Luca Cartel. Those two have been, certainly giving us some very interesting pieces all throughout the European season. As not to think the champion of Europe in that class isn't just up to the senior category for the FIA Motorsport. So it's down to any of the two maybe to fight at the front and get their name in the history books of the Olympics of Motorsport. Let's come into turn number 4. Oh, yellow flag. Yellow flag is waving. Seems to be into the sector of turn number 4 and 5 on the other side of the track. And for a reason still unknown to us. And Thomas Pregliasco, the Argentinian driver, unfortunately having to retire. That might be the reason of the yellow flag. Back in the lead as we're about to conclude lap number 3 out of 5. And look how close and threatening Daniel Martinez is. Diego Martinez, sorry. The Spaniard is going to try something. He wants to go for the lead into turn number 1. Cartel, Martinez, split by 3 tenths of a second. Georg Mutik is actually trying to catch up as well. The yellow flag is still waving for Thomas Pregliasco, unfortunately stuck somewhere out of our vision into turn number 4 and 5, as the battle for the lead is still raging. Who's going to come on top? Who will prevail into that first qualifying heat for the junior category in cross car? Cartel, Martinez. We're going to have ourselves an interesting 3-driver battle by the look of it. If Georg Mutik, the 181 from Estonia, is being able to get close around the inside into number 1. We shall see a switch. Not quite yet. Diego Martinez was very, very close indeed. He had an interesting and better racing line on the inside. He's turn number 1, but Luca Cartel was having none of it and held on to that first position. Oh, that's going to be an interesting battle until the very end. This is the last lap, ladies and gentlemen, into turn number 7. The chicane of turn number 8, and I think Luca Cartel will do everything that he has to get himself into the... Oh, and a mistake from Diego Martinez. The Spaniard just went pushing a little bit too hard. He lost the rear into turn number 9. And went the way of Georg Mutik. The checkered flag is waving. Luca Martel is taking the win. Georg Mutik from Estonia. Certainly didn't see that coming. But here's a second place that kind of falls from the sky for the Live driver in front of Diego Martinez from Spain. Certainly will beat himself up a little bit after this mistake into the last lap. Even the best of the categories are certainly non-immune to making a mistake here in those difficult conditions. Fourth place for Oscar Maciejewski. Bernardo Beatty closing up the top 5 from Josephine Olkminster. And we have lots of driver in the process of that race. Thomas Pregliasco, unfortunately, the Argentinian driver, not seeing the checkered flag at the end of this first qualifying heat for the junior category, won by Luca Martel. A good result for the Belgian driver in front of Gegenor Mutik and Diego Martinez. The juniors will be back after the second rotation of races for the mini category. So don't go anywhere, as the mini will be up next, and then the juniors will be back as mini categories after this. After this 2 more rotations, this will be the end of the first part of the program for this afternoon. The Heat 1 will go to Heat number. The cross car mini category as part of the FIA Motorsport Games up and running as the new competitors onto the track are waiting for the signal from the official. Very happy to have you with us here live on the channel of the FIA Motorsport Games. My name is Guillaume and this is a delight and honor to be part of the FIA Motorsport Games team with the RGMMC group to be able to cover for you and call the action for the cross car categories. 3 classes for the first time with the addition of the mini alongside the juniors and the seniors. 2 years ago in Marseille, we had the seniors and the juniors. Now it's a new project, a new class, and a new system as well. And not going too much into detail, not to get you lost into too much explanation, but keep in mind that for the first rotation of qualifying heats, we only have 2 drivers going side by side during 2 laps. And those little confrontation, the winners at the end of those 2 races, because the same drivers have to compete against the same driver twice, and the winner at the end of those 2 races goes to the next step, which is the quarterfinal. We have 14 drivers, and at the end of this rotation of the first few races, on all 14 of them, we will lose a total of 6 drivers to only keep 8 of them in the quarterfinal, then down to 4 into the semi-final, and down to 2 for the final A and 2 for the final B to elect the driver that will step on the third step of the podium and get away with the bronze medal. This will be for tomorrow for the last few stages of that race and that competition in the cross car mini. Now, today is down to the qualifying races, and you might be wondering, well, 14 drivers, an elementary system, and what about those who unfortunately cannot make it to the next step? Well, don't worry about them. They will get a chance to see them still compete, as they get the same amount of races through the same system, but unfortunately they will get to compete against one another and not making their way forward, but we still get to see them compete until tomorrow morning before the last few steps of the program. But the minis are up next. As we've seen in the first few races, victory twice for the Swedish driver Ogberg, who went on to win his first 2 races. 2 races as well, one for the Finnish driver Manisto against the young Brazilian. The green flag is waving, the green light is on. Here we go, between Michal Erska and Céline Perichot from France. Czech Republic against France for this opposition between the mini drivers. This is the first of the 2 races that they're going to have to compete against one another. And we got the advantage of France at the moment. Céline Perichot, the 256, is taking the lead, as Michal Erska was on pole position coming to turn number 1, but the Frenchman was able to get herself up in the lead straight on into that opening lap. And 2 lap is not a lot at all, as they made their way close by, in close formation into turn number 7 and 8. Coming to certainly the trickiest of all parts of that track here in Aspar, Valencia. Turn number 9, where we've seen a lot of mud outside of the racing line. No trouble whatsoever for any of those 2. Erka and Perichot still close by into turn number 11 before making their way past the checkered flag in one more lap. This is the start racing line. Here we go for lap number 2, as Céline Perichot is currently in the lead. but for how long? That's the question. Michael Erska is coming down here. Watch out into number 2 and 3. The exit is very important, keeping the racing line where to make the move. That's the question. Around the outside, maybe crossing the line into turn number 4. A little bit of standing water on the inside line, something you want to avoid by all costs. As outside of turn number 5, yeah, the French driver is still very much in the lead at the wheel of that two-wheel drive buggy with those Honda engines, taking them to awfully great performances all throughout the weekend. And there won't be much time remaining, unfortunately, for Michael Erska to try to switch positions. He's being quite aggressive into turn number 9. That's a risk to take, certainly. But the French driver is having none of it, and that should be victory. That's going to be a side-by-side arrival between Céline Perichot and Michael Erska onto the line. The checkered flag is waving. This is victory number 1 for France. Céline Perichot is taking the win. Michael Erska, not a lot of gap, 0.4 of a second onto the line, and you can see him getting past into the out lap, the deceleration lap, in a way of saying, well, you got me this time, but I was very close, and we still have one more race to go. And in the case of a tie, if, for instance, well, Michael Erska win the next opposition between the two, well, it's down to the gap, it's down to the best lap as well between the two drivers for electing the one that will get himself into the quarterfinals. Of course, still, all of those results still remain very much provisional, as the mini category is still up and running. The green flag, we're going to have the next confrontation, this time between Emils Mirosniks and Cristobal Bonnet, the 259 against the 262. Here we go. 2 laps to go through in that mini category with Mirosniks, the driver from Latvia, and Cristobal Bonnet that we have the pleasure of having this weekend representing Peru. Latvia against Peru, as at the moment trying to catch up as well into that lap. And so that you know, this is a very much a brand new category. That's the mini cross car class, and that came alive just for the past few months, and in a record time certainly. Life has been able to come up with that design, that project, and building the car from scratch. So those little buggies are brand new. And the reason of me explaining this is that we only have like 4 of them, so the drivers have to switch from one buggy to the other to make sure to participate in all those qualifying races, switching the numbers as well. So same machinery for pretty much everybody. It's down to the drivers to be able to make a difference. And at the moment, well, Emils Mirosniks from Latvia is having the upper hand on Cristobal Bonnet from Peru. 1 lap completed. We're going to the last one already, 2.6 seconds, and unless something happened to him, I think that it's going to be good to go certainly for Mirosniks on his way to what will be victory number 1 into this mini category, as this field is almost split between male and female competitors, with one of the drivers, Lena Stroop from Germany, the youngest in the entire field of the FIA Motorsport games. We'll get to see her compete in just a moment, but between the minis, that's going to be certainly a very interesting confrontation between those two. Don't forget that those also have a joker lap for the mini category. The driver who's not on pole position at the start must take the joker lap in the first lap, and the pole sitter having to wait on lap number 2. But this will be already checkered flag at the end of those 2 laps for Emils Mirosniks. Well done to the driver from Latvia, taking the win from Cristobal Bonnet for 3.6 seconds. So win number 1 for Emils Mirosniks in front of Cristobal Bonnet. As we're going to have the next race coming up just after between the drivers in place, Cabral and Tricky as well coming up. As you can see, they're already waiting onto the grid, still in the same mini category as we go through a rotation of 4 races in a row. We have a lot of those races in mini class. Only 14 drivers, that's for sure, but 2 by 2. That takes a lot of racing sessions, that's for sure. And to give you an idea, in terms of sessions on track, we have about 140 throughout the 3 days of competition here at Aspar. victory is occurring here in Aspar, Valencia, as we're going to have the turn number 1 between all two young competitors. That's going to be an interesting one. This is revenge between Michael Erska and Céline Perichot, the Frenchman who took the win. Céline Perichot, the young driver from France, and this time around, well, it goes the way of Michael Erska. That's going to be an interesting one. She has 2 laps to try to switch those positions around, maybe being able to take another win. Let's see about that, because when it's come to a tie, well, in the mini category, it's down to other factors to be able to split those young drivers. Let's see about that, as we're about to enter lap number 2, and a little bit of a gap built by our leader at the moment, Michael Erska, in front of Céline Perichot. French driver keeping a close watch on opponent at the moment, as the next race is already getting itself ready onto the dummy grid. Yes, for now, lap number 2 in. Here we go for Michael Erska, Céline Perichot, behind into turn number 2 and 3. But I do think that the gap has been extended to 1.4 seconds. Unless something happened, like a mistake into the second part of the track, I don't think that Michael Erska will let that race go away. He doesn't want that race to slip away from his hands, and that would put him on equal footing with the French driver Céline Perichot, who took the win in the previous confrontation. And when it comes to that situation, well, it remains to be seen who will make it to the next step. In case each driver wins one session, well, the winner will be determined by the fastest session time between the 2 sessions. So that's going to be an interesting case as well, as the driver who takes the fastest time in any of the 2 sessions with 1 win each will go to the next round of races into the quarterfinal. For Michael Erska, take win, his first of the weekend on equal footing with Céline Perichot. This is victory 1-1 with 2 seconds advantage for the Czech driver. And the last lap, and it was his best lap in 58.1, 6 tenths of a second faster than the young driver from France. So remains to be seen who will make it to the next step, but it's now down between those 2 drivers for the confrontation, as we will find one of the 2 for the next step into the quarterfinal. Here we go to the next race already. The green flag is waving. There's less than 5 seconds remaining, and the green light is on. Here we go again. Revenge between Emil Mirosnik's 1 victory for him already, the driver from Latvia, and Cristobal Bonnet from Peru. And this time, the switch for those position into turn number 1. Could it be at the advantage of the Peruvian driver? Around the outside goes our leader in terms of victory. And Emil Mirosnik get back into first position at the moment, entering that lap number 1. Let's see about that between Mirosnik and Bonnet at the moment. Cristobal Bonnet trying to make his bet into that race, trying to take revenge. Keep in mind that the driver who takes 2 wins out of 2, well, that's simple, go to the quarterfinals. In case of a tie, well, the winner will be determined by the fastest session time between the 2 races. So the fastest lap for any of the 2 drivers winning 1 each race will be the decisive factor to make it to the quarterfinal. We're not there yet, but as for now, Emil Mirosnik has been able to build himself a bit of a gap that could actually mean victory in the end. 2.1 seconds at the end of this opening lap. As Cristobal Bonnet quite able to follow the pace of his rival. That will mean that on his way to could be victory number 2, and I'm saying could be because a race is never finished before the checkered flag, as we do all know. That means that if he stays like that, Emils will make it to the quarterfinals and will get to compete against either Chabral or Shriki, that will come into play for the next few races after. But we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on all the drivers making their way to the quarterfinals, and we'll let you know in due time once their name are confirmed. But Luca Marinelli still has the different categories labor this track here of Aspar. The checkered flag is waving, welcoming for the second time in a row as winner Emils Mioksnis in front of Cristobal Bonnet. That's race number 4 into this those two groups. Still at the first level of competition, don't forget, between the mini competitors in the top 14 as we call it. One more race after that, just to before we switch our attention to the junior category for the race 2 of the first qualifying heat. The cross-car junior category is up next. We're done with the second rotation of the mini class, up to the juniors for the race number 2 in the first rotation of qualifying heat. As we had Emil Mioksnis and Cristobal Bonnet taking to the track before. Now it's down to the juniors with 14 drivers in total. As you can see, the track is obviously by the Orange Army and the Marshals with the intervention vehicle, making sure that the track is clear at all times and helping out some of the unfortunate drivers. And of course, as like anybody here under the sun of Valencia, everybody needs to drink and eat. So, well, buen provecho to you guys. Bon appetit. Enjoy your meal. That's a well-deserved piece of bread over there. One of the sandwiches prepared by one of the cooks at the RGMMC group, no doubt, with a bit of water as well. Keep yourself hydrated, keep yourself up to the energy, because we still have, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of fascinating sessions going on here onto the Aspar Circuit. Now, coming to the juniors, as we're going to have in this one the second race of the qualifying heat. Let's take you through the grid for that heat 1 race number 2 with Gianluca Neumann, who will be starting from pole position. And we have Sasha Dio as well by his side. Oliver Luca Jensen sharing the first row of the grid. 3 drivers in front, 2 drivers on row number 2 with Pim Vlasak and Matas Zavarskis. Then we have Vasilios Iliopoulos and Theo Sebastian Johansen running up the top 7. 14 drivers in juniors, as we said, split in 2, which means that we have 2 races to go through for each rotation of the qualifying heat for the junior category. 3 races in each of the rotation for the senior, because there's more drivers. So it means that there's always a maximum. In European Championship, it's up to 10 drivers at the same time on track. Here it's a little bit less, 9 maximum in the seniors, and this time it's 7 in each of the groups. The drivers are getting themselves ready in the junior category. The first win that we had previously onto the track went to the Belgian driver Cartel, Luca Cartel. One to watch, definitely, as Luca Cartel has been one of the protagonists of this year's European Championship. First step of the podium in 2024, 1 year after another third step on the podium in the Academy Trophy. One of the drivers coming from the east of Belgium in the beautiful region of Spa. And Spa-Francorchamps is certainly a name that resonates quite high into the ears of many of you guys, motorsport aficionados watching along. Whether you are on location or with us on YouTube or wherever you are watching from on this beautiful planet, once again, thank you ever so much for joining us and choosing the FIA Motorsport games in the cross-car categories, the off-road section of the Aspar Circuit activities, as the junior category is about to get underway for another qualifying heat. After this one, we'll get back to the minis before a short break and the next session that will start the second qualifying heat for all the competitors. So to keep track of all those races, if you want to have a look and a double check on all the results, well, I can only but suggest to you FIAmotorsportgames.com, and you will easily find all the links, all the previews, all the news, all the pictures, the videos, and everything that get you covered in terms of results, decisions, classification, live timing, live streaming as well, brought to you by RGMMC. As the checker flag is waving by the official at the forefront of the dummy grid, the engines are warring, And the light goes green. Go, go, go. Brian Leclerc, Sacha Dayo, Luca Janssen, and Dayo, the Frenchman, taking a great getaway and starting to the entry of turn number 1. Here we go. 7 drivers onto that grid. Watch out coming to turn number 4, turn number 5 as well. Brian Leclerc for a tiny bit of a moment. Last second place to Sacha Dayo. Let's see how they finish that opening lap. The German is back in the lead. Neumayer in front of Sacha Dayo by the look of it, coming to turn number 8. Then we have Oliver Luca Jensen, Pim Vlasak. Let's have a look at the respective gaps once they come across. 5 laps to go through. Look at them going on the inside of turn number 10, just before the hairpin in turn number 11. Certainly not a lot of room for mistake, as Neumayer is closing that opening lap in the lead in front of Jensen. The 196 from Denmark is the one who took second place from Sacha Dayo, the Frenchman. And we have Matas Zavarskis down in 4th place. Vasilos Iliopoulos, the Greek driver, just behind him, making his way up to P5. Pim Vlasak, the 114 from the Netherlands, has lost 2 positions in front of Theo Bastian Johansen. That's for the classification as for now. The 111 in the lead. Brian Luca Neumayer at the wheel of his live machine, powered by his Yamaha engine. The battle is raging behind as well. Watch out. This is 2 laps completed. And Oliver Luca Jensen under the pressure of Sacha Dayo. The Frenchman was getting near. He's about half of a second behind the driver from Denmark in 2nd place. And we have a little bit of a gap. Matas Zavarskis down in 4th place, 2.7 seconds behind the Frenchman. Pim Vlasak up into P5. How we find the Dutchman back in the race. He found a bit of pace back and climbed 2 places in front, 1 place, shall I say, in front of Vasilos Iliopoulos, the Greek driver. And look at how bumpy that is, as some of those suspensions have been really made very smooth, just to be able to cope with the amount of jumps, the amount of holes and other traps that lies around this layout of Aspar. It's fair to say that unlike some of the look at one of the drivers further back going around the inside on the exit of turn number 1, where there's a lot of standing water still, and you can see that once you put your wheels outside of the racing line, well, that might not end well for you, as this driver actually was brave enough to keep it together and try to help out of his machine on the outside of that turn, as the flag is getting near. This is the last lap already for Brian Luca Neumayer. 1.5 seconds almost on Oliver Luca Jensen. Sacha Dayo still in 3rd place, not quite able to catch up with Jensen. The Frenchman has lost a little bit of momentum at the moment. Is down 2 seconds on Jensen in 2nd place. Matas Zavarskis down in 4th still. Pim Vlasak still in P5 from Iliopoulos and Theo Sebastian Johansen. We've seen as well in the previous junior races that there's always room for mistake, even from some of the most ruthless competitors. But this time around, nothing to see, nothing to worry about for Brian Luca Neumayer, taking the win, the German driver in front of Luca Jensen. Sacha Dayo from France, crossing the line in P3 from Matas Zavarski, the 155 from Lithuania. Pim Vlasak from the Netherlands in P5, Vasilos Iliopoulos from Greece in P6, and Theo Sebastian Johansen, the 137 from Norway, running up the top 7 at the end of this junior race. This is the qualifying heat of the junior that close actually the first rotation of qualifying races for the junior category. We're going to have another rotation of the minis, and after that we'll go down to the 2nd rotation of qualifying races for this category. And after the mud, after the action, well, time for a little bit of less stress, time for a little bit of détente, shall we say, back into the washing area. This is not for the drivers, obviously, but even though a little bit of good washing onto the helmet will certainly be needed, this is for the machine that get to have a bit of a wash up, thanks to the personnel and the women and men involved into the organization here. A little bit of Karcher as well will be very much required to find again for the next few races that they have on schedule today. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If you're joining us for the first time live from the Aspar Circuit, we find ourselves near the city of Valencia on the east coast of Spain. And as you can see, the weather and the temperatures are very much kind with us. The wind has been picking up slightly, but these are ideal conditions for the mini category of the cross car championship as part of the FIA Motorsport games to get on track. We're going to get here into the last rotation of the qualifying races counting for the quarterfinals, which means that we're going to have 4 drivers on track at the moment, 2 by 2. The first will be on track at the moment, waiting for the green light, will be Ava Cabral from Canada and Hagam Shriki from Israel. Those 2 will be competing not once but twice, and the next 2 drivers will do the same with Staub and Oxtra as well. Those 4 drivers will be completing the first rotation of qualifying races in the mini category, and at the end of those last 4 races we will have the top 8 coming to the quarterfinals. The rest of them, 6 drivers left, will still get to compete for a couple of more races throughout the course of the day and tomorrow as well, against those who will be the green flag in the green and on the crucial race, only 2 laps, not a lot of room to mistake, a lot of time as well to try to recover after losing some ground at the start. And as you can see, with the Canadian flag on the rear wing, has taken the lead from Hagam Shriki. That's going to be an interesting 2 laps between those 2. Advantage Canada for the moment for young Ava Cabral. Hagam Shriki just behind. As we mentioned earlier, there's pretty much a parity between female and male drivers into this young category. Drivers between 8 and 12 years of age, as Ava Cabral and Hagam Shriki. Among them, 6 lady drivers that we have here into the field of the mini category. And as you can see, quite an aggressive and fast exit of turn number 11 for Hagam Shriki. That could make a difference. That's going to be an interesting last lap. As you can see, Shriki is coming back at her very quickly. Certainly Cabral was a little bit too cautious on the exit of turn number 11, just by the look of it, and that allowed Shriki to get back onto her tail. Coming to turn number 4, if there's a little bit of a space, not much, opening up into the inside of the racing line, she might be willing to take advantage of that. On the outside of turn number 5, and the Canadian driver still very much in the lead. Where's Hagam Shriki? Just behind. She wasn't quite able to make it stick, and she lost a bit of momentum as a result into the hairpin of turn number 5. And at the moment, this will mean, and she's going around the outside just a tiny bit into that turn number 9. Watch out where you put your wheels. Still very muddy with some of the drivers that we've seen stuck in the first few races. But the checkered flag is waving, and this is victory for Ava Cabral from Hagam Shriki for just 1.5 seconds. Just 1.5. That's one way to put it if you like. But the story get back that into the 10 number 5 with Cabral. That's win number 1 into this first of the 2 races that they're going to have together. Two more drivers getting themselves ready onto the pre-grid in the mini category, as we're gonna have on track Oxtra and Strobe, the young German driver who's actually the season. Strobe from Germany, 8 years and 1 month. Oxtra is with 8 years and 2 months. So there you go, Oxtra and the German driver going head to head. Here we go, the green flag, and the green light is out. Oxtra, Strobe, the 2 youngest drivers in the FIA Motorsport games, going head to head for their first competition in the mini category. At the advantage of the Dutch driver, Merel Oxtra taking the lead and already pulling away just a tiny bit on the Lena Strobe. Let's see what the German will be able to do in that two-lap race into turn number 4. Just behind the grandstand, outside of the hairpin. Good racing line, no mistake whatsoever from that young driver from the Netherlands, Merel Oostra. Lena Stroop just behind, quite able to pick up a little bit of pace. Oh, on the inside, that's going to be an interesting one. Oh, contact! There could have been a contact there, it was a tiny one, but as a result, unfortunately, well, Lena Stroop just was a lot of fun to make a difference in those races. And in turn number 9, Lena Stroop, you could feel she was picking the pace outside of turn number 8. She saw an opportunity, she saw that space opening up on the inside line, and there might have been a slight contact as Merel Oostra, well, once you open the door, all you want to do is try to shut it on the exit of the turn. That's what she did, closing that on the exit, and there might have been a slight contact between the wheels. I wouldn't know, not quite too sure, but as a result, Stroop unfortunately could not only she could not make the move, but she lost all contact, and that gives, in the end, Merel Stroga the win on the silver plate on the exit of turn number 11. That will be win number 1 for the 2 races. Merel Oostra from the Netherlands. One last kick of the throttle, checking the checkered flag at the end of those 2-lap confrontation. And Lena Stroop, she might not be happy with herself, but still she can be proud of the attack. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to try at this level in order to make a difference. Let's not be afraid. Let's not take anything for granted. If there's a gap, if there's a chance, I should go for it, and that's what we love to see. And please, more of that from you guys. But as a result, fortunately, that's not certainly the finish she would have expected. But she will have one more race to try to switch those positions. The mini category is underway. Green light is on as we're back with Ava Cabral and Agam Shriki into turn number 1. This will be the last chance for the driver from Israel. Agam Shriki will try to make a difference in this race. Ava Cabral from Canada took the win in the previous race, so it's down to Agam Shriki to try to make it equal. And in terms of a tie, in case of a tie between the drivers in those confrontation, it's down to the fastest of the two. So the fastest time session will be the decisive factor, allowing one of the 2 drivers to make their way to the quarterfinals to get qualified for the next step of the competition. And Agam Shriki knows that certainly very well. At this level, it's a victory or nothing. And at the end of the opening lap, well, this is advantage still for Israel. Agam Shriki in front of Ava Cabral from Canada. What he heard us, certainly, and he knows what's at stake here. One more lap to go. 1 minute, 5 seconds, and 3/10, slightly faster than Ava Cabral on that opening lap for the Israeli driver. 1 full second. That could be enough. That could be enough for him to secure victory and put himself on equal footing with Cabral. Now it's down to the lap that Ava Cabral was able to pull on the time before, on the race before. Unfortunately, I don't have that information with me, but the results, oh, side by side, watch out on the inside. That's going to be an interesting finish to that race. Oh, into turn number 8. There was a first attempt. There was nowhere to go on the outside coming to the entry, unfortunately for Cabral, but this race might not be entirely over between Shaki and Cabral, but I think the Israeli will finally have the upper end. And there was another good try, one last slide into turn number 11, and the checkered flag is welcoming Agam Shriki, taking the win for Israel. Ava Cabral having to make do with second places, but yet again, another very interesting try of a move into this race. The mini category back underway here on the Aspar Circuit. Thank you ever so much for joining us here live on the YouTube channel of the FIA Motorsport Games. This is the end of the first rotation of races, as we're going to have Merel Ostra and Lena Strub going head-to-head for the second race. The green flag is waving. Less than 5 seconds before the light takes over. And once it goes green, there you go. We're good to go for racing. Merel Ostra, Lena Strub, the German driver, taking advantage now from the outside of the only row of the grid. And that's important for Lena Strub. She tried to make a move into the opening race, didn't quite manage to do so, and to make it with second place. And now it's Merel Ostra, who actually took advantage from the outside of the row, considering that she was on pole position. I mean, she was on the inside, what you can consider as pole position coming to turn number 1 for the first race. For the second race, well, they just switch those places. But even though she was on the outside, Merel Ostra had the better start in front of Strub. And not only did she have the better start of the two, but she was able to pull away into that opening lap, but jumping a little bit on the entry to turn number 9. Oh, look at that! Talking of a jump, watch out where she put your wheels, certainly, but she didn't seem to be shaking up that much. And while doing that, going aggressively onto those little jumps, she was able to build a very impressive gap into that opening lap. Merel Ostra is coming across, completing that opening lap, and Lena Strub is only coming now 6 seconds. Well, that's a massive advantage. There's in the course of one lap she was able to build, and there might have been something wrong going with Lena Strub, because lapping 6 seconds slower than your closest rival is certainly not something that you would get to see normally. So maybe it's a little mistake on the side of the German driver Lena Strub, who unfortunately won't make it to the quarterfinal. This will go the way of the driver representing the Netherlands, Merel Ostra, on her way to a victory, number 2 out of 2 races in that mini category. And that means that she will make it to quarterfinals against, that won't be an easy task, the second, one of the fastest drivers in the qualifying practice, Latvi, that will be against the driver from the Netherlands for the quarterfinals coming up later on today, as well as tomorrow. But that's it for the mini category. As for now, stay with us, ladies and gentlemen, as we're going to have some more racing coming our way in the senior, the junior, and once again from the mini. Plenty of racing action here live from Aspar Circuit near Valencia. Live from the Aspar Circuit, we get ourselves ready for the second qualifying heat rotation for the senior category. 25 of the best specialists in the senior class of the Cross Car European Championship, split into 3 groups. The first one coming our way with 9 competitors, then we're going to have 8, and a third race a little bit later in the schedule with 8 more drivers. The best of the best, certainly competing at the highest level, as Sebastian Henholm, one of the winners earlier into the first few races that were won by Jonathan Ililiami. We have also David Mea and Sebastian Henholm, the 3 first winners in the qualifying heat. And as a result, well, Henholm gets to start from pole position into the upcoming race here. And taking a look at the previous results of the senior class, we have it number 1. Yes, the result is here, available to you as well online. Sebastian Henholm, David Mea, Jonathan Ilami. That's the result of qualifying heat that was disputed in 3 races. So the accumulation of those 3 races makes it for one first classification for the first qualifying heat, and based on that classification, then we have a grid for the second rotation of qualifying heat. I do hope that you guys follow my lead and follow my path in terms of explanation. Hopefully I do not make that too complicated to understand. Just keep in mind that Sebastian Henholm is the driver to beat after his first win in his first race. Adar Melamed, watch out for him as well. Arnaud Demelen third on the grid and on that front row. Then we have Robert Robinix, Adam Kotaska, Martin Yuga, Joe Denis, Manuel Loyola, and Federico Pini. That's 9 drivers, pretty much maximum allowed onto the grid. 3 drivers in the front, 2 drivers on the second row, then 3, then 2, and so on to make it complete. Sebastian Henholm, that's an important one. He will be willing to make it 2 in a row. He's the driver starting on board from the left side of your picture, on the right side of the front row, coming to turn number 1. That's the prime position at this level, considering turn number 1 goes right. But we have seen in previous races that starting from the outside can be actually a little bit helpful as well. But watch out where you put your wheels outside of that racing line, because with the amount of mud, the amount of holes and trails that have been formed into this track of Aspar ever since we got here, this doesn't make certainly the task of the drivers any easier. Sebastian Henholm from Sweden, Adar Melamed from Israel, Arnaud Demelen from Belgium, Robert Rubenieks, the number 63 from Latvia, Adam Kotaska from Czech Republic, Martin Jugan, 25 from Estonia, as well as Joao Diniz from Portugal, Manuel Loyola, the number 13 from Chile, and Federico Pini from Italy. The engines are warring, waiting for the green flag. The official is advancing in front of them, not quite yet. It's really playing on the nerves of those competitors. There's a green flag at the back end, there's a green flag in the front as well. Once those two are waved, we get into the last 5-second window before the light goes green, shall I say. And then the Lions will be unleashed for 5 laps into this qualifying heat. 6 in the semi-final, 7 into the final that will take place tomorrow. But now it comes down to the competitors, to the favorites of each of those classes to try to make a difference. Sebastian Henholm just finished the first rotation of qualifying heats in the lead in front of David Mea and Jonathan Yilimani. The green flag is waving. We're about to get ourselves ready for racing here for the senior category. Watch out. That could go ugly into turn number 1. The engines are warring. And we go green, green, green. And we go into turn number 1. A pretty good start from the front row as well. Watch out not to get yourself into too much trouble side by side. Almost in turn number 2 and 3. Remember that this track is particularly narrow, certainly much narrower than what most of the drivers are getting used to into the European Championship, but still, this is one of the many challenges that they have to face this weekend. Great start from the pole position for Sebastian Henholm, the Swedish driver, still in the lead into that opening lap. Those cars much wider, much heavier than the juniors and the minis, which means less space in the continuity for overtake, which certainly will be a busy factor through the course of the races. We've seen the yellow flag at the back of the grid into turn number 9. We'll come back to some drivers as Henholm is running up the top number 6. Oh, and 2 drivers coming together, and unfortunately one of them is from Belgium, Arnaud Demelen, as well as the Estonian driver Martin Yuga coming together. Sebastian Henholm, Adar Melamed, very, very close indeed, just 4 tenths of a second, also dancing around the racing line, just getting themselves into turn number 2 and 3. The deception can be read certainly and that might be the reason why Kotaska is nowhere to be seen. This is Federico Pini. Federico Pini is joining the rest of the field that will not make it to the checkered flag. That makes it 4 drivers having to retire. Arnaud Demelen and Martin Yuga coming together. You can see them on your screen. But we've lost as well Federico Pini and Adam Kotaska into the opening lap. Well, with that amount of drama, we are into already the penultimate lap, number 5. And you can see on the right side, yellow flag is being waved. Watch out, the best position for I think that's Federico Pini by the look of it, to step out of his buggy. And unfortunately, There's nowhere else to go for him, but watch out for the drivers finishing his race in order. As Sebastian Hanon dancing his way around the chicane of turn number 8. Three drivers stepping fundamentally outside of the line. Now Melamed, 1 full second on the last lap. Here we go. The explanation is not just done yet, even though the gap went from 1 to almost 1 second. The fastest lap for Sebastian Hanon in front of Adam Melamed. Robert Rubeniens, third place from Ioannis Manuel Loyola. And that's it actually. We are only getting 5 drivers at the end of this race. There's just a few corners left. One last slide. One last kick of the throttle. Jumping around the inside of that turn number 11. Slides on the entry to the last bit of straight. And that's victory. Another one for Sebastian Hanon, the Swedish driver. Watch out for the driver from Sweden as well. Sebastian Hanon, one to watch certainly at the wheel of his speed car machine, winning for the second time in this weekend so far in front of Adar Melamed. Robert Rubenieks taking third place from Ioannis, and we even lost Manuel Loyola. Well. Manuel Loyola, the number 13, is nowhere to be seen. Well, talking about drama, talking about mayhem in the senior category, well, we have lost, ladies and gentlemen, we have lost 5 drivers. 5 drivers out of 9, so that's above half of the field that unfortunately didn't make it past the 5 laps of that race. We've lost Manuel Loyola, the last one. We've lost as well Arnaud Demalen and Martin Yuga coming together, and Federico Pini and Adam Kotaska are nowhere to be seen, unfortunately for them. But for Sebastian Hanon, well, that's another victory in the bag for the Swedish driver, putting him in a prime position to keep on going at that rate, considering that this result means that he will get to start, if everything goes according to plan, in the next few races, on pole position for the last rotation of qualifying heats. But we still have 2 more races to go in that second rotation, as the senior will be back in just after this. The senior category of the cross car series. 3 classes this year. For the first time, 2 years after the second edition of the Olympics of Motorsport, we had the addition of the Mini alongside the juniors and the senior. 8 more drivers will make their way onto the grid in just a moment for the second rotation of qualifying race here for the senior class, the prime class in the world of cross car and autocross worldwide competition, at the forefront of the motorsport scale. Everything live on the YouTube channel of the FIA Motorsport games as ever. And if you are in need of information, please make yourself help yourself with the FIA Motorsport games official website, where you can have all the information that you need for what's on schedule in terms of racing, in terms of activities, in terms of festivities as well on this track of Aspar. One of the 4 locations available to you for this year's FIA Motorsport Games. We are here in Aspar, just about 40 kilometers down the road from Valencia, and half an hour from the Circuit Ricardo Tormo, which is the epicenter, so to speak, of this year's edition of the Motorsport Games, as well as 2 more areas for the gravel and the tarmac rally, a little bit more to the west, a little bit deeper into the country. But now, our focus is very much on the off-road and karting races here on the Aspar Circuit. Off-road racing, as you can see at the back of your screen, the next drivers of the senior class are getting themselves ready. They're not quite yet on the pre-grid. Just to explain to you how things go, at the back of the grid, this is the way to come onto the pre-grid before the start, and onto the left they have to go through the scale. There's a scrutineering procedure. They have to come through the scale as well, with a minimum weight of about 345 kilos. Some of them, some of them drivers less heavy than others, having to ballast a little bit the machine. But once they get past the scale and everything is in order in terms of all the aspect of the machine, and that being said, one of the drivers yesterday got caught up yesterday, as the seniors will be back on track in a minute. races. Yimami from Finland, David Meyer from France. Most experienced drivers in the class. Look at him going aggressive into turn number 10 and 11. Trying to build enough of a gap at the end of lap number 1. Sebastian Hanholm as well. 2 wins for him, the Swedish driver so far. David Meyer will be willing certainly to make it 2 in a row as well at the end of this race before we go with the minis just after. But for now, the seniors qualifying heat number 2. Heat number 2, we're going to have one more after that, and then by the end of the day there will be qualifying heat number 3 with 3 more races. And the reason is that you might be wondering, well, why not having all 25 drivers in one go on the same track? Well, that would not be entirely possible, so that's why the field has to be split between those with 9 drivers and then 8 and then another group of 8. David Meyer, 0.6 of a second in front of Nathan Atting, the young Dutchman. These are the 2 European champions of this year. One in the juniors stepping up to the senior category, and one of the prime classes. Watch out. Maciej Slakowski down in 3rd place. Oh, that was the number 5. Nathan Atting was very, very much on the tail of the Frenchman. I thought for a second that he was going to be able to take the advantage, but Atting still has a bit of time into this race. With Budelmeyer down in 4th place, Alan Sintes from Brazil in 6th, and Said Kan Akok to lap number 4. Penalty here on the Aspar Circuit. Oh, that was a close call. I thought for a second I think was going to roll over on the outside of turn number 3. But what an attempt it was. He certainly was trying to get a little bit on the inside of David Meyer on the outside of the turn, but he forgot that, well, there's a bit of mud, there's a bit of talus as well on the right fence there, and fortunately he was able to get himself back on his wheels. David Meyer didn't quite manage to take advantage of that. I think was keen on reacting as we go into the lap number 5. There won't be much occasion for another thing to try to switch those positions, with 1 full second advantage for David Meyer. I don't think that the French driver will be defeated into that race. But what a cabriole, what an acrobacy it was from Nathan Atting. Certainly one of the big cheers of the season, one of the images of the weekend so far from Nathan Atting. Despite all of his efforts, he is against certainly the strongest opposition you can find, with the multi-time European champion from France, the gold medalist in Marseille 2 years ago, asserting himself as the one to beat, taking his 2nd win in as many races. David Meyer from France wins his 2nd qualifying heat, putting himself on equal footing with Sebastian Hanholm. 2 wins as well for the Swedish driver. Nathan Atting taking 2nd place. Maciej Slakowski from Poland 3rd at the end, from Felix Budelmeyer, the German, in 4th place. Alan Sintes from Brazil, P5. Then we have Niklas Lukas Jensen, P6. Sahil Kana, P7. Kan Alako from P8. And unlike what we had for the race before, all the drivers, all 8 of them, well, made it to the checkered flag. The green flag is waving, and the light will go evergreen as well for the mini category, live from the Aspar Circuit as part of the FIA Motorsport Games. Here we go, up and running with the youngest drivers of all 3 classes, and some of the youngest in the FIA Motorsport Games. This is the first of the quarterfinals. This is race number 7, and we have a new name, Hugo Fuertes, the young Spaniard from pole position. And there's a good reason that we find him in that place, is that he's been one of the fastest, and the fastest, shall I say, in all the sessions so far. FP1, the free practice session number 1, was cancelled for the mini category yesterday, but Hugo Fuertes found himself at the top of the timesheet in free practice 2 in the 2 qualifying session, and from pole position. That's his first race as the fastest of them all. Well, he didn't have to go through the first few races for the other drivers to qualify into the quarterfinal. Him and the second fastest drivers of the class, Late V as well, that we will get to see competing a little bit further later into the schedule. But for Hugo Fuertes from Spain, competing on home soil, certainly is giving him some interesting wings. And from pole position, he was able to get himself ahead and keep himself ahead of Edrich Ochberg, the young driver, the 261, representing Norway, as part of the 14 drivers making this first ever presence of the mini category in the FIA Motorsport Games. But for Hochberg, at the moment, trying to resist and try to get himself close for the Norwegian driver. Let's try to see if he can switch those positions against Hugo Fuertes at the moment, as Fuertes is keeping a steady lead, not making any mistake into turn number 8. That is a little bit of a gap. It was up to 9/10 of a second at the end of the opening lap of that race, shall I say, as Hochberg is going a little bit wide with the cheering of the crowd and some of the supporters, family members and team members certainly watching from the sideline. But short race that is, 2 laps and that's it, and that goes the way of Hugo Fuertes taking his first win of the weekend. And keep in mind that those drivers will have to go head-to-head twice as well, and the first confrontation goes the way of the Spanish pole sitter and the young man to beat in the mini class so far. But certainly his rival just gave his all, but he's going to have one more chance to try to do the same. The mini class up and running here on the Aspar Circuit with Michael Erska and Livery Manisto now onto the track for the quarter-final respectively, as they're going to go through 2 laps as well. This is the race number 8, so to speak. Keep in mind that these are the drivers who made it past the round of 14, find themselves into the quarter-final stage, which doesn't mean that, the most difficult part of the job is yet to come, certainly, for those drivers. As for now, the elimination top 8 stage of the competition sees a couple of those drivers trying to climb their way through the later stages of the competition. So as for now, we had Hugo Fuertes and Edwin Hochberg for the first confrontation. Now we have Michael Erska and Livery Manisto. The green goes line, the light goes green, and all 2 drivers are now taking position of the track at the advantage from pole position of Michael Erska. Livery Manisto down in second place is Czech Republic against Finland. Let's see who will be able to get himself into the semi-final stage. Remember that the winner of those 2 races, this is a 1-by-1, should I say 2 drivers each time, 2 races against one another, and the one who takes the most wins, well, make it to the semi-final. In case of a tie, if each of those drivers, takes 1 win, as he's going to try to have a sneak peek on the inside, the fastest of the 2 drivers in the sessions, will make it to the next step in case of a tie. But for now, the mission for Michael Erska is to certainly not to let that happen. He doesn't want to see his rival getting ahead as we go into the second and last lap of that confrontation. Livery Manisto, let's see what he can do. He's getting close, a good exit on the entry of the turn number 2, the right and left. Good exit out of the corner number 3. The right-hander turn number 4, coming to turn number 5, the hairpin, where he can actually go the long way around, trying to take advantage of a little bit of his joker lap. Not quite able to make it stick yet, but that's going to be an interesting another race. They've never been that close, coming to the chicane in turn number 8, then down to the left in turn number 9. That could be the last opportunity for Manisto to maybe have a go at the win. Trying to get himself through the mud and through the standing water. Not quite the easiest of part of the track in terms of visibility. But the Czech driver, Mika Erska, was able to resist until the end and will be the first one to see the checkered flag. Victory for Mika Erska the first one for him into that quarter final, and there will be one more race between those two, don't forget. So Manisto has still a tiny chance if he can get his hand on a win and on the fastest lap of the two to make it to the quarter-final. That's the win for Michael Erska in the first confrontation. Two more drivers for two more laps in the mini category once again, as we can have the revenge turn, so to speak, between Hugo Fuertes and Edwin Hogberg. Those two had one race already just a few moments before, going the advantage of the Spanish driver Hugo Fuertes, who's going to be on the right side of your picture, the outside line coming to turn number one, as the first race is determined by the result of qualifying in the case of Hugo Fuertes, who took pole position, and then this time they switched those places, giving the theoretical advantage of the inside line to Edwin Hogberg. Once the light goes green, and so it does. The racing line live. It was actually Hogberg trying to get himself as well from the outside line. It was still on the outside, my apologies, but Edwin Hogberg trying to switch those positions, entering turn number one, but the Spanish driver is having none of it and keep the racing line and keep the racing lead alive. Watching over his shoulder in his mirrors as well, which in that case certainly is more than useful. Check out about your rival's gap and pace just behind you, even though you can see him looking both left and right into the mirrors to see where Hogberg might be. He's not too far behind, so it's not about just to let a race slip through the fingers. Here we go for lap number two. Fuertes, let's have a look at the gap. 1.5 seconds coming across, just a little bit on the inside into the racing line. The mirrors is the chicane after number 2 and 3, but there won't be much that Edwin Hogberg can do in this race, I'm afraid, as the Spanish driver is the one to beat, and that's something he has been demonstrating all throughout the qualifying practice and qualifying session. He's the fastest around these spots, the young Hugo Fuertes. Watch out for him, and even though he has 2 races less than all of his other rivals, except the other driver that was one of the fastest in the qualifying practice, that was Johan Ledvi from Estonia, that you'll get to see in just a few moments. But that's a victory for Hugo Fuertes from Edwin Hogberg. Which one of those two young mini drivers between 8 and 12 years of age will prevail in the upcoming race? They're getting themselves ready. Michael Erska from Czech Republic and Livero Manisto from Finland. The first confrontation went the way of Livero Manisto. So let's see which one of the two will be able to have the upper hand this time around. And for any updated classification and results, please make sure to check out FIA Motorsport games on the official website of the competition. As for now, well, it's down to just 2 tiny laps to take the advantage on your rival to make a difference, building enough confidence, not just in terms of result, but building confidence as well as for the moment. But between Erska and Livero Manisto, this is now or never between those two. Let's see who will end up on top. The light goes green. Here we go racing. Oh, from the outside, that was a pretty good start indeed for Livero Manisto, who finished second in the race before, my apologies, behind Michael Erska. As Erska this time around, well, he just let that slip out. He's taking the lead back. So he's taking the lead back, brilliantly made by Michael Erska, just in front of Livero Manisto, as both drivers are giving us another strong explanation into this one. The advantage once again of the Czech driver, outside of the turn number 5. A good exit actually from Livery Manisto. He might have a chance if he can get close at the end of one of these 7 straights that I've counted around this track. Some of them longer than others, obviously. Outside of turn number 9, watch out when you put your wheels outside of the racing line. That might be costly. And look at how dirty those little buggies are. You know, that's certainly not for the light-hearted, the cross-car competition. You got to get dirty. And it's not in terms of driving, obviously. That's down to the officials around the track to make sure that the racing goes according to plan and according to the book. But getting dirty, not being afraid, just to get aggressive, go for the move, not being afraid of a little bit of a mud. But at the moment, well, Michael Erska keeps the advantage on Livery Manisto. After this race, well, stay with us because we're going to get back to the senior and the junior categories before another round of qualifying heat for the senior category. That will conclude the second rotation before the third and last one of the schedule. But here we go into the last few corners. Michael Erska, Livery Manisto, split by just not much, so to speak, just a few meters between those two. As the race is about to conclude at the advantage of the Czech driver, just a few meters. The checker flag is about to wave, and that will be victory number 2 as they come back to the pit. Brilliantly done from one of the two, as my live timing just updated itself. So Michael Erska taking the win in front of Livery Manisto indeed, as we're going to turn our attention, ladies and gentlemen, to the junior senior category first of all, and then the juniors coming just right after this. The senior category is up and running, almost waiting for the green light here on the track of Aspar. Thank you ever so much again for joining us here as we get ourselves ready. Jonathan Ilimani on the first row on the grid from pole position. By his side, Bob Scannon, Ivan Piacinchilla as well on the opening row. And here we go. The light goes green into the first sector. And what a start from the outside from Ivan Piacinchilla. That was a brilliant getaway from the pole sitter through the mud. Oh, and contact by the look of it, the number 15. Jonathan Ilimani was trying to get back on the Spaniard and take that first position back. He's having none of it as on the inside goes the number 30 of Axel Elbrun on the 88. Bob Shannon is dropping places up it down to second by the look of it. Yes, indeed. Third place for Bob Shannon as he was starting on the front row of the grid. Jonathan Ilimani is taking the lead. So we thought he would for just a split of a second, but it's back to Ivan Piacinchilla. What a first race, what a first lap of the race, and what a start it was for Ivan Piacinchilla from the senior category. And oh, what a big contact, and that would be the end of it for the big driver, Konstantinos Anastasopoulos, unfortunately. And as indeed, that's just on the entry of turn number 8 at the end of the lap. There might be some contact result causing actually the despair and the DNF to come for Konstantinos. Oh, and a mistake! That's a mistake from one of the leaders who's going to try to go in reverse and put himself back into that race. But that's a disaster. Was it Jonathan Ilimani? I think that might have been him. I'm going to have to see that again. But Ivan Piacinchilla in the meantime is still very much leading. As Ilimani is still very much in second place. It's Thomas Schmidt. This is Thomas Schmidt, the driver from Switzerland. He was in 4th place and he will be nowhere to be seen. Was he able to get back onto his wheel? He's still with us into the race, but in 7th place, dead last, considering that Konstantinos Anastasopoulos retired. On the left side, you can see that the front left wheel seems to be busted as a result of a contact with another driver who didn't get to see what happened, unfortunately, into that opening lap. But as a result, we have a DNF for the Greek driver. In the meantime, Ivan Piacinchilla, who was put himself well into the limelight coming to the qualifying practice. He was an overall pole sitter. Ivan Pina Chinchilla, don't forget, he was the fastest in both qualifying sessions earlier into the senior class. And so far, he has not managed to win a qualifying heat. So that should be his time for the senior category. That's race number 3 after the victory of Henholm and Mea in the last 2 races in that second rotation of qualifying heat. Well, Ivan Pina Chinchilla knows that it's down to him now to try to make a difference with Mea and Henholm on both 2 victories. There's not much room left for mistake or hesitation for Ivan Pina Chinchilla. He has to win his last 2 qualifying races and wait for the points to be calculated at the end, and hopefully hope for the best to make his way up to the semi-final. Pretty much everybody will make it to the semi-final, and then we'll lose still a couple of drivers, my apologies, as for the final of the category we only get to keep the 10 best drivers, 20 into the semi-final, 25, you make the calculation, we're going to lose 5 at the end of those qualifying heats, at the end of the quarterfinals before the semi-finals. Checkered flag in the meantime for Ivan Pina Chinchilla in front of Jonathan Ililami. Jonathan Ililami in second place for Finland. Bob Shannon for the Luxembourg, in third place in front of Alex Elbrun, Tommy Baratti in P5, Eric Stenholz in P6, and 2 drivers that we lost through the course of that qualifying heat. The last one for the second rotation of the senior is Thomas Schmidt. As you saw, he went unfortunately he went into a mistake. He just made a mistake, went for a spin, got stuck unfortunately. And earlier into the opening lap, we did lose as well Konstantinos Anastasopoulos, the Greek driver, with one of his wheels certainly not in the position he would expect, and hopefully not too much damage, and repairs will be needed, that's for sure, for the speed car machine. But hopefully we'll have the Greek driver back in no time on track. The junior category is up next here. As you can see, the drivers making their way onto the pre-grid. What about the juniors so far? Well, for the drivers between 13 and 15 years of age, we had Luca Gartel and Neumeyer, the German driver, taking the first 2 races wins. Now, we're starting the second rotation of qualifying heats for the junior category, which means that considering there's 14 drivers into the class, they're being split into 2 groups, which means 2 races with 8 drivers in the first one, and 7 drivers in the first one and 7 drivers in the next as well. But now we have Luca Gartel and Neumauer taking the first 2 wins, as we said. Now, taking a look at the results so far into the junior category, as confirmation of that result indeed for Neumeyer leading the way, and he's going to be the one starting from pole position, because as a result of the 2 results accumulated from the first qualifying heat, well, he rates the first position for that race coming up in front of Luca Gartel. Then we have Olivier Luca Jensen. That's for your top 3. When it comes to the grid for the junior class, as if I can find it here, we have indeed for race 1 of the heat number 2. As I said, Neumeyer is going to be your driver starting on pole position. Then we have Luca Jensen and Sacha Dayo by his side on the front row of the grid. Round number 2, we'll see Matas Zavarskis and Pim Flasak. And round number 3, Vasilios Iliopoulos and Theo Sebastian Johansen. 7 drivers in this race, 7 in the next, that will come into play after another rotation of qualifying heat for the minis. We're going to have 2 more rotations of minis in this part of the schedule that will conclude the qualifying heat number 2 for all 3 classes. But now, all eyes on Neumayer. He has one win under his name already, another for Luca Cartel from Belgium. So let's see what the German can do in this confrontation. Luca Cartel will be coming up later as the pole sitter, as the winner. He gets to start on pole for the upcoming race. He will have Mutic and Martinez by his side, but that will come for later. Now, as you can see, the drivers are getting themselves ready onto the pre-grid, as they're going to have to go through 5 laps, same distance as for the seniors. Now, I'm aware that's a lot of names, just a few laps, down to just 2 for the minis, so that goes very, very fast indeed. So we all are making our efforts to keep it up, and sometimes that might not be that easy for everybody to just get their head around what crosscar is all about. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there, you're following through the competition, through the European Championship for the past few years, ever since 2021. This is part of the FIA European Championship with the current format as we know it, with a couple of classes, not only the seniors, the juniors, later on certainly the mini, but also the buggy 1600, and up to last year we had also the Crosscard Academy Trophy that has been won in the past by for Luca Cartel. He came third last year into that competition, making his way up to the junior class for this season, and becoming one of the big names to keep an eye on in this category. As you can see now, the drivers are getting themselves ready onto the grid, which is rather unusual compared to other forms of motorsport, obviously. Since most of the grids, we have the same amount of drivers. This time, very much like we have in rallycross, we have 3 drivers up front, 2 drivers, and then another 3. That's the way it is, up to 10 cars and drivers maximum. For the motorsport games, we're going to have to wait up until the final for the best drivers out there in both the juniors and the senior category. But the time and the men to beat so far, Luca Cartel and Neumayer. We haven't seen much of Diego Martinez so far, which is interesting considering he was our overall fastest drivers in qualifying practice in that junior category. Daniel Martinez will be starting from the front of the race for the and when it comes to results, well, Martinez is after his first 2 races. Nothing is done yet into the junior category, and Martinez, despite being one of the fastest on track, the fastest on track in qualifying practice, well, that shows you that at this level, on such difficult track, considering all the challenges, this is shorter, this is much narrower than one you can find in the European Championship, for instance. This is very muddy, sometimes some of the tracks as part of the European calendar can offer a variety of surfaces, whether this is mud, whether this is rock, whether this is concrete asphalt, a mix of it as well. But this time, this track is pretty much new, it has been built like 10 days ago, just for the purpose of the FIA Motorsport game, you believe. So this facility, this track is brand new of course, built on what was available in terms of land and in terms of characteristics of that land. And we're talking very much about mud. We're talking about something, that can be slippery at times, retaining the water. And we've seen that this morning. Actually, unfortunately, for those of you who were not aware or were not with us earlier today, well, we're facing a bit of a delay compared to what was originally planned in the schedule, down to some unfortunate weather conditions that we had through the course of last night, with some heavy rains that, well, made some part of the track quite difficult to use, and a lot of repair and a lot of cleaning was required by all the people and all the teams involved into the making of the FIA Motorsport games for the off-road section. And they've been doing one heck of a job for the past few hours just to make sure that we can go racing. And I have to say, this has been absolutely ecstatic and fascinating to follow, and I do hope that you guys share a similar opinion from wherever you are watching live on the YouTube channel of the FIA Motorsport games. Plenty of action, as we have one of the French drivers actually. This is on the starting grid for heat number 2. This is actually Sacha Dayo, who's going around a little bit to get himself on the first row of the grid. with Neumayer, Jensen. Dayo will be on the outside, coming to turn number 1 on the right side of your picture. And as you can see, the truck coming back from turn number 11 is definitely not part of that race, but might have been something, some repair were indeed required, certainly. And talking about repair, that's also why this truck is here, to get the car of the unfortunate Greek driver, Konstantinos Anastasopoulos, out of the way after that DNF in his previous qualifying heat that we had before in the senior class. So got a bit of a shame for Konstantinos, and hopefully for him not too much to repair on his chassis, because from our position we could see that as a result of a contact. Didn't get to see, unfortunately, if it was with another driver or with some of the sides of the track, but as a result, the front left wing seemed to be in a bit of a discomfort, so to speak. So hopefully it will be back on track in no time. And talking about track, I do think that the mission has been accomplished, and most of the layout is now indeed fit for racing. You've seen the green flag at the back end, which means that all the drivers, 7 of them, are now ready on the respective starting spots. And once we have the green flag waving at the forefront of the grid, which means less than 5 seconds before the light goes green, watch out as the engines are roaring. We're getting ourselves ready, and the light goes green. Here we go into turn number 1, and an impeccable start from the middle of the pack from Sacha Dayo from the outside of the front row by the look of it. Yes, indeed. So the Frenchman, fantastic onto the, and going against the concrete walls just on the left side, the right side on the exit of turn number 3. That was a bit of a moment, as we have seen with Nathan O'Tink, the Dutchman, in one of the previous races in the senior class. But compromise his space into that open lap. So from third onto the starting grid to first in the course of just 1 corner, that was enough for Sacha Dayo to get himself in the lead of that race. Let's have a look at the respective gaps. In second place we have Brian-Luca Neumayer, our pole from Germany, certainly being gutted about himself to let that first position slip through his fingers. Oliver Luca Jensen down in third place in front of Pim Vlasak, getting himself in P4 from Matas Zavarski. And some trouble from one of the Greek drivers. Yes, Vasilos Iliopoulos, by the look of it, in a bit of trouble. Well, this is not really the day of Greek drivers, unfortunately, after the trouble of his fellow countryman Anastasopoulos. It seems to me that Iliopoulos was on a different pace, running into some mechanical trouble by the look of it. Let's wait one more lap to see if he's still with us or not. In the meantime, 2 laps completed. Sacha Dayo, Neumayer second, 4 seconds. Activation of the trouble affecting Iliopoulos, who stumbled down the order in P7 currently. He seems still to be running with us as the battle for the lead is taking an interesting turn. Watch out, because we had a 1.4 second advantage for Sacha Dayo in the course of a lap. Nothing, and there was a mistake for the Frenchman. Mistake for the Frenchman on the outside of turn number 11. That's all Neumayer was expecting. Contact. They're going side by side into turn number 23. What a return from Sacha Dayo. Wow, that's what we're talking about. Sacha Dayo, for a second, we thought that we would lose that first place. Going side by side, wheel against wheel, bumping into each other. And then he just held on to that place on the inside line, kept his head down and the foot down the throttle, and took that first place back. What a beautiful piece of racing ballet, as I like to call it, between the two. And it caught certainly the German driver unintended. And could we see some trouble with the rear right wheel? Maybe that's certainly visual illusion, but Neumayer certainly discomfort. I think it has to do with the reflection of his wheel that is indeed misplaced as a result of that contact with Dayo. But Neumayer, no trouble whatsoever, keeps on going from that second place. This is the last lap of the race, and the gap went back to 1.5 seconds. Over Luca Jensen down in third, trying to give a bit of hard time to the German on the way to the checkered flag. And this one, Sasha Dayo will put France once again on the top of the ranking after David Mea into the seniors. It's down to the juniors to see the French drivers shine into the Spanish weather. Sasha Dayo taking the win from Brian-Luca Neumayer. Oliver Luca Jensen in third. Pim Vlasak down in fourth from Matas Zavarskis to Sebastian Johansson. And Vasileios Eliopoulos actually coming across in P6 after taking advantage on Johansson into the later stages of that race. But what a beautiful piece of action between Sasha Dayo and Neumayer. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, for the mini category back on track after that performance from the juniors. Down to the minis once again to show us what they made of as we have Ava Cabral and Emils Miroksnis. This is Canada against the driver. And Miroksnis is a 2:59 from that mini category. As Miroksnis representing Latvia at the moment on track. This is the race counting. This is top 8, race number 9. So don't forget that this is still a quarter-final race between the two, and the checkered flag is waving already as Ava Cabral is taking the win. Emils Miroksnis having to make do with second place, 4 seconds behind. So there was pretty much no contention, no battle to be seen between the two. Ava Cabral just having the upper hand and beautifully taking the win at the end of those 2 laps. The mini competitors getting themselves ready. We have Johan Leidvi. That's an interesting one. The Estonian driver, and Merel Okstra by his side. Johan Leidvi, one of the fastest drivers that we got to see competing in the qualifying practice. And just like Hugo Fortes, who finished his last 2 races with 2 wins, well, this young driver had 2 races less than the rest of the competitors. So already and straight away qualified to the quarterfinals. And now find himself against Merel Okstra, who took 2 very interesting and dominant victories. Merel Okstra against Schrob, the young German driver. Now, the light goes green once again. And as you can see, there's a little bit of cloudy, yeah, a couple of clouds actually gathering above our heads here. Nothing to be worried about though, as the track conditions and the weather conditions will remain certainly up to the standards of those drivers all throughout the course of the day. As we mentioned earlier, we've been delayed by weather conditions and circumstances certainly out of our reach. And as for now, the battle is raging. Johan Ledvy and Merel Hoekstra. Ledvy, that's has shown his pace in qualifying. That's his first race so far this weekend. Merel Hoekstra, 2 wins to a name from the Netherlands. Estonia against the Netherlands as for now. And at the end, remember that those two drivers are going to have to face each other twice. And at the end, well, there's a place in a semi-final for either the driver who take 2 wins in a row, or in case of a tie, well, the fastest time in the session will determine the driver who will make it to the next step. And due to the delay that we had in the schedule of today, we won't be done with the qualifying heat just yet for the mini category. That will come back into play tomorrow morning before the later stages of the competition for both also the juniors and the seniors on the way to the finals. But at this point, I'd like to be able to share with you the information, but I don't have the latest version of the schedule with me here at this to you on the FIA Motorsport Games.com official website. As for now, the conditions slightly improving, and Merel Hoekstra actually is doing a great job in front of Johan Ledvy. She was able to get the advantage, get the upper hand on Johan Ledvy, and taking the win at the Dutch driver in front of the Estonian. That's another strong showing from Merel Hoekstra, taking another victory in one of the qualifying heats as part of the cross-car mini category, one of the new additions in the scheme of things here at the FIA Motorsport Games. Two more drivers getting themselves ready, and the light goes green. Here we go again with the mini category. This is revenge between Ava Cabral and Emil Smirsknis. And it could get away outside of turn number 1. Some of the different liveries here, very much white for those two, as Emil Smirsknis has the upper hand for now. Ava Cabral down in second place. And the driver from Canada is going to try to make a difference in this race. Now, those young drivers start to be kind of used and accustomed certainly to the racing lines. And look at the exit that Emil Smirsknis is having outside of the turn number 6 on the way to the last part of the track. That could give us an interesting opportunity on the outside. Oh, watch out not to get your wheels banging just too soon. Oh, he was saying, oh, we have like some mechanical trouble. By the look of it, no. Still going strong. Ava Cabral is entering the last lap no, this is Emil Smirsknis now taking the advantage in the end. Yes, indeed, still very much in the lead. Ava Cabral down in second place. But we came close to see a switch of position entering turn number 9. And I thought for a second, but again, slight illusion that Ava Cabral was having a little bit of a struggle to come out clearly outside of turn number 10 and 11. But again, we're here back into the middle part of the track, and we shall see again. Ava Cabral is going to try again. Attempt number 2. Same place, same conditions, and let's see if she's going to be able maybe to get the advantage from either lines, either left or right. But Emil Smirsknis very smartly keep his head down and is not letting himself intimidated, and will make it to the checkered flag, taking the win in that top 8 race as part of the quarterfinals of the mini category. Beautifully made from Emil Smirsknis, from Ava Cabral, as the next two, as you can see, are already getting themselves ready onto the pre-grid. As we told you before, with the system, the eliminatory system of the mini category, with drivers going face to face, just 2 laps, that goes very fast. So better get themselves ready to go again, as we're going to have Ledvi and Merel Hoekstra. Merel Hoekstra, who had the upper hand on the Estonian driver, Johan Ledvi, on the race before. The green flag is waving. Watch out. Who's going to take the best start on the way to turn number 1? That's going to be a close call. As the light goes green, just, well, not now. Well, might be something wrong with the lightning system, hopefully not, but we thought for a moment that those two would be given the get-go. But Johan Ledvi and Merel Hoekstra still very much on their position, waiting, and that's what you got to do, waiting for the race director's orders. And let's see, once the track is made clear, I don't get to see from my position, unfortunately, whether or not it was due to technical trouble or something down to the track. But now, the second time the charm, and the light goes green. Here we go. Once again, Johan Ledvi, Merel Hoekstra. Oh, and there was a close call, actually, going side by side, head to head into turn number 1, trying to avoid the standing water on the inside. And there was a good start indeed from the outside of the row from the Dutchman, Merel Hoekstra. So she's taking the lead once again in front of Johan Ledvi. That's interesting. You can feel that with 1 win in the bag on the race before, suddenly it gets into your mind. There is almost, yeah, of course, there's extra confidence that comes with the fact of winning your race before. That gives you a bit of a push in confidence, certainly coming into turn number 1 and resisting, not letting yourself intimidated by your rival. It's not about time just to leave the throttle just too soon. Oh, and look at there seems to be a bit of a jump on the inside of turn number 9 over there. And those two drivers, Ledvi and Hoekstra, were keen on jumping on it. Here we go into turn number 2. The Dutch driver leading the way for 1.2 seconds from Johan Ledvi from Estonia. And now it's about keeping your head down, try not to make any mistake. But so far, the racing line is clear. You don't want to get yourself just too much on the left or the right side. As Merel Hoekstra is having the right time. Another win seems to be coming away. As Johan Ledvi, despite all of his effort and pace into the qualifying session, not quite able to translate that into winning results just yet. With patience, his time will come as well. But for Merel Hoekstra, well, that's 2 races, and it's about to be 2 wins as well for the Dutch driver. And that's mission accomplished, we can put it this way, for Merel Hoekstra, on her way to what will be then the semi-finals of the mini category here as part of the FIA Motorsport Games. And as always, when there's a switch of categories, just after, you might have heard the engine roaring of the junior category just behind me. As you can see from the corner of the picture, the junior drivers are indeed getting themselves ready for the second race of the second qualifying heat rotation. That's going to be an interesting one once again between the competitors aged between 12 and 15 years of age. The junior category, ladies and gentlemen, as part of the 2024 FIA Motorsport Games. Again, a pleasure, a privilege to be here with you live from the Aspar Circuit near Valencia, the epicenter of the off-road and karting operations for the Olympic of Motorsport this weekend. We find ourselves with the junior grid. Well, the second part of it, so to speak, because as part, based on the results in the first rotation of qualifying heats, we get the second part of the 14 driver group. And the one that will be starting from pole position is driver on the left side of your picture, Lucas Cartel from Belgium. One to watch. Third in this year's European Championship. Third in last year's Academy Trophy in the junior category. Certainly a driver who knows his way around an operation like that. He's going to have JJ Mutic by his side on the front row of the grid. Diego Martinez, the pole sitter of the category, starting from third. Round number 2, just 2 drivers, as always, with Oscar Maciejewski, as well as Bernardo Bitti. And at the back end, we have Josephine Alvins and Pregliasco. Total of 7 drivers, as you can see on the left side, getting ready to go for battle once again. 5 laps to go through. This will be the last 5 laps for the junior class as for today. For the second rotation, shall I say, there will be one more heat, obviously, for both the seniors and the juniors. And because of the delay that we suffered this morning, it's 6 o'clock local time here, and we're due to keep on racing well until it's no longer possible, just to put it. And the sunset is slightly coming our way, but we should be able to get some enough lighting onto the track and up until 7 o'clock. So 1 more hour for the drivers, 1 more hour for you guys to follow the action live on the YouTube channel of the FIA Motorsport Games, with the effort of the RGMMC group in the background as well, to make it happen for you to not to miss any bit of the track action. But Luca Cartel, the young Belgian from the private team of Olivier Cartel at the wheel of his XC Willows, one of the chassis that we get to see compete in the junior class. We have chassis like Semog, Ross Cross, as well as Live. Now, the green flag is up, and the light goes green, green, green. We're racing in the junior class once again, and a great start from the pole position from Luca Cartel on the inside of turn number 1. A little bit of a scratch as well from further back. The 7 drivers into just like the first sector on the circuit. But the Spaniard Diego Martinez had a cracking getaway as well. From third to second by the look of it, ahead of Mutic. Diego Martinez, up into second place, chasing already Luca Cartel. As always, easier said than done. Easier to follow, to chase, than to be chased. As you can see the 2 drive. Oh, around the inside, there he goes, Martinez, and a slight contact. Another one, Luca Cartel trying to resist and to hold on to that first place. Coming to turn number 1, that might cost him dearly. As further back we have as well General Mutic trying to get himself into the battle. Thomas Pregliasco, what a start, what an opening lap for Thomas Pregliasco, the Argentinian driver. He climbed 3 places up to 4. That's the kind of opening lap we're talking about at the moment, as Diego Martinez is your new leader into the lap number 2. Luca Cartel trying to resist into the last and the first turn. Lost a bit of momentum as a result that allowed Gerard Mutic to get close to the Belgian. And in the meantime, for the gap to be, quite aggressively built by Diego Martinez. Let's have a look. And we're going to lap number 3, and we have 1 driver into the mud, unfortunately. And this is all just on the side of turn number 3. Easiest of places is Josephine Olmvingst, by the look of it. Yeah, the Swedish driver, Josephine Olmvingst. The only lady driver out into the field, unfortunately, and she won't get past lap number 2. As we're back here with the leader, Diego Martinez, wearing proudly the local colors of Spain, is one of the favorites, certainly being pushed forward by the fact of competing on home soil. Luca Cartel in second place, losing momentum as a result. You can see him 2.3 seconds behind. Then General Mutic trying to give me a bit of a hard time, but Cartel is being able to get himself a bit of a gap as well in the meantime. Half of a second. Will it be enough for Cartel to see the checkered flag of this race in that second position? Pregliasco still in 4th from Maciejewski. Then we have Bernardo Bitti, and he will be the last one to see a checkered flag as for now, since we've lost to Josephine Olmvingst. But that's demonstration at the right time, entering the last lap. Diego Martinez, your local hero. On the right side you can see the yellow flag as well as the panel showing the drivers that there's danger, and this is the machine, the speed car machine of Josephine Olmvingst on the right side of your picture and track. But there's been no position for Diego Martinez. A beautiful piece of driving. Now look at him go through the kick right and left of turn number 8. Oh, slight hesitation there by the look of it on the inside, but no major trouble or consequences for Diego Martinez. We'll see a look at the traces being left into turn number 11. Not the easiest of place to keep a racing line, but Diego Martinez was certainly unshaken and will take the win. Another one, the first one for him actually, shall I say, for Diego Martinez into that senior category. Junior category, my apologies, as this is the last second and last race in that second qualifying heat, and the win for Diego Martinez, the Spaniard, for the first time jumping on top of the classification. As in the meantime, while the unfortunate Swedish driver Josephine Almqvist will be hopefully able to get back with the help of the marshals to the cleaning area, and I do hope for her that the speed car machine didn't get into too much trouble, that the much repair won't be needed. That's the last thing that you need after going through a DNF, is to for your mechanics and for yourself as well, to be able to actually having to put some extra hours into repairs. But it seems like she will be able to get back to the Parc Fermé and to the washing area by herself. At least she get herself into the cockpit and trying certainly to help the marshal a little bit with the sense and the wheel as well. But I don't think that she will be able to get started, and that's when the intervention vehicle comes in, and she might be certainly pulled to the washing area. But that's unfortunate for Josephine Almqvist, as that race was won in impressive fashion by Diego Martinez, and gave and as you can see, the rope will be pulled out, allowing the driver to make herself back to pit unless she can get that engine started again, and seems to be the case, yes. So that will be certainly way easier that way. And a mechanic actually is going to give us a little bit of a Mansell Senna moment for those of you aficionados of Formula One. And not only Senna and Mansell back in the British Grand Prix of 1991, when Ayrton Senna, having retired from the race, well, jumped onto the Williams of a victorious Nigel Mansell, who gave him a lift back to the pits. Well, so to speak, we've seen in the history of car racing and in single car racing some interesting lifts being given between drivers, and was the likes of Michael Schumacher and Jean Alesi as well. But Mansell and Senna, certainly an image that went down in the history books and of Formula One and into the memories of many F1 fans over the years. And well, this one will go down certainly as one of the nicest images of today's of racing in the cross car categories, live from Aspar Circuit. And why not give him your mechanic a bit of a lift? Walk is good, but a lift will be faster, and hopefully they will be able to assess what happened and get some repair and be back in no time on track for the next qualifying heat of the junior category. This time won by Diego Martinez for the first time. Luca Gartel taking second place from Genor Mutic. The time for the track to be made clear again for racing, and we're going to switch our attention to the mini class again, ladies and gentlemen.
David Valenciano, acabo de perder de la cámara 11 a la 14. Ok, hablo con Cristian, le digo. También tengo out 9 y 10. Ok, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14. Ok. Se acaba de quedar sin gasolina. controles, una cosilla rápida, va a tener un coche de rescate ahora para ver si podemos encontrar alguna estaca que esté por ahí tirada a vuestro lado, alguna estaca grande, alta, y si la tenéis se la podéis llevar al rescate, por favor. Hay más minions aquí. Què fem? Els preparem entre graelles o els deixem entre graelles? Deixem aquí la graella. Cuando pasen para aquí se la enseño. Vale, rescate por favor, lo más rápido posible porque tenemos aquí a los minis. ¿Cómo? Vale, rescate, si ya tenéis 3, podéis salir por el puesto número 4, ¿vale? Si tenéis 3, son suficientes. Vale, atención, controles, vamos a arrancar una de minis. Corren Francia y Perú. ¿Cómo? ¿Has dicho?
Welcome back to the mini categories, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ourselves ready for the last round of qualifying races for the youngest drivers as part of the cross kart competition here at the FIA Motorsport Games. Well, if you're joining us right now, you made certainly the best choice. As you can see, the lightning around is slightly decreasing. We've just entered the period of sunset here in the region of Valencia. It's 22 past 6 local time, which means that I've just been informed of a change to the schedule. Those 4 races of the mini class will be the last one of today. We're supposed to go for the third and last rotation of qualifying heats for all 3 classes, including the junior and senior. This won't be the case. That means that those races that we don't get to compete today, well, we'll have them in the morning tomorrow. That means starting a little bit earlier than planned, which is fine. We'll do just fine. But keep yourself updated with the next and changed version of the schedule that will be published or is already published on the official website of the FIA Motorsport Games. Everything will be updated just on the process. So make sure to tune in and make sure to get yourself up to date with the schedule information. As for now, the last rotation is taking place tomorrow early in the morning. Then we have the next steps with the semi-finals of the mini class, as well as the quarter and semi-finals and finals of the senior category. All of this taking place tomorrow. In the meantime, the last few races that we have are, as you can see, we have some of the drivers who, unfortunately, and a bit of a jump once again into the last part of the track. These are the drivers who unfortunately didn't make the cut on their way to the semi-final. These are the drivers. This is race number 11, unfortunately. All classified between P14 and P90 and P9. So just outside of the top 8, making their way to the further echelon of the classification. So the drivers that whose results certainly were not up to the standards. And Cristobal Bonnet, in the meantime, has been able to hold on to first place in front of Célie Perichot. The French driver has finishing in second place at the end of this two-lap race.
Vale, control 3, por favor, cuando acabemos las carreras no hace falta que saquemos ningún tipo de bandera, ¿vale? No hace falta la bandera.
The mini class up and running here as part of the FIA Motorsport Games, as the next two drivers that we're going to have on track for race number 12 will make their way on the grid. Keep in mind that those drivers are all of them between the P14 and P9 position as part of the field. So they were not the ones, unfortunately, who make the cut to the first part of the elementary system, which means that for tomorrow we're going to have the semi-finals between the four best drivers, obviously, and the winner of each of the semi-final will make it to the final, one final A and one final B for the 3 medals up for grab in the mini category. But the rest of the winners, the rest of the drivers, shall I say, will keep on racing in the other echelon of that elementary system that was established for the new addition of the category, the FIA Motorsport Games, in order to, well, just to very simply put, allow the drivers to have fun all throughout the weekend, you know. This is one thing to compete at this level. This is another thing to be able to translate that into a result. And, you know, when a scenario doesn't go according to plan, and you're not able to manage to optimize the result at the end of the weekend that might have gone up and down, well, you're still being provided with the chance to keep on racing, to have the same amount of races as all the others, just to keep on really getting the experience, getting the feel, getting the fun, certainly, as Célie Perichot and Cristobal Bonnet are back on the track for the second confrontation in a row, as we're going to have them. Yeah, they were second of their respective races, and they're going to go for another chance against one against the other. Bonnet has 362. But Cristobal Bonnet, the driver representing Peru, trying to have the upper hand. Did he get himself in the lead? Not just yet. There's still Célie Perichot in the lead of that two-lap battle between the youngsters of the mini class. And Célie Perichot on the way to the last lap already in front of Cristobal Bonnet. Let's see what the Peruvian driver can do. It's going quite close. Entering the turn number 2 and 3. Oh, and a good exit, actually. Watch out. Shall we see a move in the last lap? That's going to be an interesting piece of racing. Entering the right-left. The right-hander. All never-ending right-hander of turn number 5. Then the exit in turn number 6. As Célie Perichot is still very much in the lead. But heading to the last part of the track. The kick, the right and the left of turn number 8. The long left-hander of turn number 9, as Célie Perichot is holding the inside line. But, oh, she might have left the open, and they're coming together. Oh, big contact into the penultimate turn of the race. And can they keep going? I'm not too sure that's the right approach. But Cristobal Bonnet was going around the inside, and it's going to try again to go around the inside. Célie Perichot was trying to get ahead of a rival, and unfortunately, as you can see, there will be no more finish for any of the two, being stuck on the fence over there, stuck on the mud. And we thought for a moment that Christophe Albonnet was going to be able to get himself ahead of the French driver, but twice going around the wrong part of the track, just to put it that way. And unfortunately, while Céline Perichot was quite frustrated, as we can easily understand why, as those two are still stuck together. They would keep on going while being stuck, which is, you want to see the checkered flag, you want to see the finish of that race, and Céline Perichot was the one leading entering that last lap, but at this point for Christophe Albonnet there was nothing to lose, certainly, and he saw an opportunity going around the outside of turn number 9, the left-hander, before the last sector of the track, and once again, muchas gracias to the Orange Army, thanks to the marshals rapid on the scene to try to, well, get them unstuck. That's exactly what's happening at the moment, and as you can see, it's a bit easier. It's easier said than done, actually, to try to get those two unfortunate drivers, well, detached, because at the moment it seems to me that the chassis of Céline Perichot, this is rather the chassis of Christophe Albonnet, stuck beneath the right wheel of Céline Perichot. Well, that could be, well, we're going to have like the last two drivers coming for the last two races with the same chassis, so those two drivers won't have to switch the machine for two other competitors coming just after them. So I guess this won't be too much of a trouble schedule-wise. And oh, she's furious, Céline Perichot. You could see it through her eyes and through the helmet. Nothing she could have done, and complaining, of course, trying to understand what happened there. But I'm sorry to say, but Christophe Albonnet went for the move, he went for the attack, but there was no space. You can easily understand what she's trying to mean by the gesture, Céline Perichot, to the people and team members and family members and mechanic watching from the sideline. But for Christophe Albonnet, there was a gap. He went from the outside, but that door just went close on him entering turn number 10, and from that point on there was just not enough space for him to go anywhere but on the wrong part of the track and being stuck with Céline Perichot. So there was certainly no intention for them to find themselves in that position in the end, even though after that they were stuck, and it was very difficult to come unstuck without the help of the marshals there. And the race, well, came to a close, and they will be able to get going back to the Parc Fermé and back to the area when those machines will get a good cleaning from the people of the organization. That's what you need as well, considering the amount of mud that you get along the way through the laps of that track here of Aspar. 800 meters, 835 to be specific, through 11 turns. 4 to the left, 7 to the right, as we've had top speeds of about 80 to 90 km an hour from the senior drivers. Not quite the same when we talk to the minis, obviously, but not the same machinery, not the same experience, not the same average and top speed, obviously, for those little machine of the mini class. These are non-gearbox two-wheel drive buggies, 4-stroke Honda engine as well at the back, and this is a brand new creation from Life that brought to life, just to put it that way, those new machines in a very, very short space of time. For the past few months, actually, they came up with the idea, they created the mini buggies, and now it's part of the FIA Motorsport games, providing, you know, a new entry for the youngsters between 8 and 12 years of age to the world of off-road racing, and maybe, who knows, the opening the path to further echelon in a brilliant career for any of those youngsters going up to the juniors, the seniors, and maybe to do some rallycross and some of the series as well. And talking about experience, one of the you won't like the way I put it, but let's just say one of the most experienced drivers in the field in the senior class is obviously David Mea. David Mea, who's been around at the top level of his game in the cross-kart world for 17 years, would you believe? So we go from experience to the youngsters knocking on the door of off-road racing. Well, with those two drivers being stuck in the last lap, that's a double DNF, unfortunately, for Céline Perichot and Christophe Albonnet. But we stay with the Mini for the last two races just after this. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, on your screen, the next two competitors of the mini category are getting themselves ready. We're going to stay with them for the next two races, the last one of the day. Let me remind you that we're going to run things up just after those last two confrontations to get started quite early. I was told that the opening race, still a qualifying race for the third and last rotation, is supposed to get started at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. So that means being there quite early. That's part of the job, and we got to move along with some of the changes that unfortunately we were forced to do due to track conditions that were not deemed good enough to the standards of the FIA. And as you can see, nice picture on the outside of turn number 11 before the drivers make their way back onto the start-finish straight, and you can see some of the inside, some of the racing lines and some of the ornières and really all the holes and the trays that have been digged out by some of the competitors as they make their way across that particular turn. Still some standing water on the inside. This is a part, should have seen this morning, but you might have seen some pictures going around social media, but this part of the track was not at all practical due to an amount of water that came from some torrential rain of last night. Hopefully this will stay dry for tomorrow, but this has been an interesting first part of the day, to say the least. But thanks to the efforts and the ongoing work from all the people involved, we were able to have a cracking afternoon of racing as we wait for the last two competitors of the mini class to make their way onto the track. This will be the race number 11 and 12 again. So this will be the last two races of the day, I've been told, before getting back to racing business tomorrow, Sunday, as a couple of medals have been awarded through the course of yesterday and today as well. Let me remind you that we have a total of 26 categories in the course of the entire competition of the FIA Motorsport Games. And for the penultimate time today, the green flag and the light go green. And Colin Snoes and Manuela Galvao Bernardelli, Belgium against Brazil. Here we go for 2 laps of racing. There will be 4 in total, 2 races, as Colin Snoes, the Belgian, and the young driver from Brazil, Manuela Galvao Bernardelli, go head-to-head. At the advantage of the Belgian to start with from pole position, at a slight upper hand coming to turn number 1 from the inside, and going down to turn number 5 and 6 on the outside, just in front of the grandstands. Into the mud, the young Belgian driver, Colin Snoes, just in front of Manuela Galvao Bernardelli. And a little bit of a gap already built by the young Belgian into the right and left kick. There's been so much happening into the last section, into 9, 10 and 11. Drivers coming together, drivers being stuck in the minis, in the seniors and juniors. We've seen some DNF. We've seen as well some cracking overtaking maneuvers in that last section of the track. So pay attention as well, very much so, for the races tomorrow on that last sector. And talking about that last sector, it seems to me that Manuela was able to pick up the pace a little bit, 7 tenths down. But last sector was much better than the first 2 ones, and she's been able to really catch up a little bit with Colin in the lead. It's down to the Belgian driver to protect his position, because we've seen that those minis, like we just had before, are certainly not afraid of anything. But unfortunately for the Peruvian driver, that didn't go according to plan against a young French driver just before. But this time around, the gap will be enough for Colin Snoes to take the win in that race, even though strong exit, aggressive, just the way we like it from Manuela Galvao Bernardelli. Not quite able to carry the momentum through the double right-hander of 10 and 11, and this will be the checkered flag seen for the in first position by Colin Snoes from Manuela Galvao Bernardelli. Second place though for 8 tenths of a second, and another strong result for Colin Snoes. Certainly not at the time of the day they would have expected, considering that these races are no longer part of the pot to make your way up to the semi-finals. But good result still, and good rhythm by both these young drivers of the mini class. And the mini category is back in just a few moments here on the Aspar Circuit, ladies and gentlemen, as we're about to come to put this day to a close with the last qualifying heat for the youngest of all drivers here before taking I would say a well-deserved break until tomorrow for everybody here. This hasn't been the easiest of days, especially for the people working on the track and making sure that it would be fit for racing, but once again, hats off to everybody as part of the organization to make it happen the way it did, and that gives you guys, I do hope, a very tasty appetizer for more things to come. And they tell you that coming down to the most important, the last qualifying heats before the semi-final of the juniors and the seniors. Well, I cannot wait to be tomorrow myself. I will be once again with you guys, your voice, eyes and ears, to follow the action on Sunday here on that same track, same location for the remainder of the races for the mini, the senior and the junior, as the junior will get themselves into a semi-final stage, as well as for the seniors, while we're gonna have as well the semi-final for the mini before the final A and final B. Talking about the minis, you can see the last two drivers once again making their way onto the track, as we're going to have Colin Snoes and Manuel Galvao Bernardelli. After going around on the outside of turn number 5, this is where they actually leave the track to go around and make their way back through the scale and back onto the pre-grid. So you got to see that road a little bit earlier, where at the end of the races, the drivers and especially the machine get a little bit of a well-deserved washing moment to remove all the dirt that got accumulated through the course of the races. Light goes green. Colin Snoes, Manuela Galvao Bernardelli. Let's try to see which of the two will have the upper hand this time around. The Belgian has won round 1 just before, so to speak. Now it's down to the Brazilian to try to resist, and so she does, taking the lead in front of Colin Snoes. So here we go. That's the time for the Brazilian to shine, even though certainly weekend has not been up to expectations. As round inside in turn number 5, the threat already from Colin Snoes. Now that was an interesting attempt round the inside. We haven't seen that many moves into the hairpin, but the Brazilian was shutting that door, found herself under the pressure of Colin Snoes coming to the last sector of the track, and this is getting really, really bumpy, even though on the racing line has different lines on the inside, beautifully made. That's a textbook sort of move from Colin Snoes, as Manuela has one up to try to switch those positions, and she might want to try to leave the door open the next time around, because that's exactly what Colin Snoes was expecting. Bring around one more time into the chicane. Turn number 2, turn number 3. A little bit like the sector of the Monaco track down to the swimming pool, a little bit. The right-hander going down to the hairpin of turn number 5 when you try to give the fastest of exit that you can find, trying to get your wheels back in the right position, back on the throttle, and seems to be serving Colin Snoes quite well. Actually was able to build enough of a gap to feel comfortable entering the last sector, as Manuela Galvao Bernardelli won't have the time or the chance to switch those positions. Quite a shame for her, even though she gave us some good moments through the course of the races so far, but that's gonna be a second place in a row, 2 second place in a row for Manuela Galvao Bernardelli, just behind Colin Snoes, the Belgian driver, putting Belgium once again on top of those qualifying races for the mini class. You can see him, yes indeed, getting a little bit of a kick on the wheel out of satisfaction after his result. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this will be the last race of today, but there's a lot more coming our way tomorrow. We're going to have the last round of qualifying heats for the minis with 3 times 4 races, and we're going to have the last round as well for the seniors, 3 races and 2 races for the juniors. After that, well, all comes down to the semi-final for each of the 3 classes, and who is going to take the crown, who is going to take the medals at the end of the day. Well, for that to find out who will win this year's FIA Motorsport Games medals in the Mini, the Junior and the Senior categories of the Cross Car, well, I would suggest you join us tomorrow from 8 o'clock, a little bit before then. All the schedules and the updates are available to you on the official website of the Olympics of Motorsport. But from the RJMC Group, from the FIA, from SRO, and from the Aspar Circuit, and from myself, Guillaume Alvarez, and everybody in the team, well, this is Hasta Mañana. See you tomorrow. Have a good night of sleep, and we have a lot more to look forward to tomorrow. Bye-bye. See you on Sunday.